2024. If I can please have the city clerk call the roll.
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Present.
Commissioner Caldwell.
Here.
Commissioner Harriet.
Here.
Commissioner McCool.
Here. Amen. Mr. Vice Mayor, if you would lead us in the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. At this time, I would like to ask if Mr. Pedro Rosario could come down front. Ladies and gentlemen, we started, we requested that we recognize a veteran every month. We believe it important to stay in touch with our military. And I would tell you this about retired Corporal Pedro Rosario. He is an activist in our community. He stays plugged in. He stays plugged into our veterans. He stays plugged in to the needs that we have as a community. He's a fantastic advocate for our veterans. I am proud that he lives in District 4. I am proud to have him and be able to honk my horn at him every time I go by his house, he and his beautiful wife, and it is an honor to have you in our community. So I would like to present this to you. Thank you for your service from 1983 to 1992 and completing basic training with the rank of corporal and first squad leader, graduated from basic and finished A1 training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. Corporal Rosario became a platoon leader in charge of 65 soldiers and graduated top of the class with a food service specialist degree. He went to the Army National Guard unit and transferred to the Army Reserve Corps, Camp Kilmer Base 411 Chemical Company. Corporal Rosario re-enlisted for Desert Storm in 2001 and is the current commander of American Legion Post 255, chairman of VCEP, and chairman of the Law and Order Ceremony, honoring those that protect our community. Sir, it is my honor to present this to you, and we thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Ladies, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give it to Commissioner Harriet. He's going to be reading the proclamation for PTSD Awareness Month.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, can occur after a person experiences trauma, including but not limited to the stress of combat, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, bombings, accidents, and natural disasters, and affects approximately 8 million adults in the United States annually. And whereas PTSD is associated with chemical changes in the body's hormonal system and autonomic nervous system and is characterized by symptoms including flashbacks, nightmares, insomnia, avoidance, hypervigilance, anxiety, and depression. Whereas raising awareness of this condition is necessary to remove the stigma and to encourage those suffering to seek proper and timely treatment that may save their lives. And whereas between 10 and 30% of service members will develop PTSD within a year of leaving combat, while others may not develop symptoms until years later. And whereas the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces who proudly serve the nation and risk their lives to protect our freedom deserve the investment of every possible resource to ensure their lasting physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And whereas despite its treatability, many cases of PTSD remain undiagnosed and untreated due to a lack of awareness of this condition and the persistent stigma associated with mental health conditions, and whereas combat-related PTSD stress among our men and women in the armed forces is significantly pronounced, given they are often exposed to highly traumatic events for weeks, months, and even years. And whereas all citizens suffering from PTSD deserve our consideration, those who are affected by PTSD from wounds received while protecting our freedom deserve our respect and special honor. Now, therefore, we, the Commission of the City of Deltona, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as PTSD Awareness Month. Do we have anybody that would like to come up and accept? Okay. Excellent.
I'd like to say I am so honored to be here today. I got my mother from Jersey. She came down for Father's Day. I just became commander of 455. I'm also the chairman of VSAT. We're open, the museum is open from 1 to 4, Saturday and Sundays. We're trying to get it open more throughout the week, and we're trying to do field trips for the schools. So, just everybody know that museum is right there at Elcam, where the helicopter is. Oh, yeah. We love to see you guys. We're a nonprofit, and any donations that can help us to make this turn around, right? So, with that being said, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, this time we're going to do approval of minutes of the regular commission meeting of June 3rd, 2024 as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Jody Lee. Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Harriet.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you. All right, this time we're going to go ahead and enter into public forum.
Mike Williams, please.
Thank you all so much. This is a change because from the 2nd grade through the 11th grade, my name was last on the roll. And I would tell the teachers to call the roll sometime from the bottom up, not always the top down. So I guess some changes have been made. This is my 61st year out of high school. But that's not what my presentation is about. But thank you anyway. First of all, I want to say thanks to the new city manager, Mr. Doherty. Welcome to the city of Deltona. Great city. We have here a lot of good folk here. We're all going to throw our arms around you and give you all the support we can to help make it a great city. Tonight, I'm here to make a presentation, or revisit, I should say, the presentation of the Dr. Martin Luther King bus unveiling, which is going to be this Wednesday morning at the Deltona Center. The bus was installed today. That's what you see there is the bus. It's installed along with the plaque that reads what it says on there. We're going to have a huge, huge crowd for that event that day. After we did install the bus, we had to go through and then cover it. So it's covered for now. So if you drive out there now, that's not a, what they call a mannequin dummy or whatever it is. That's the bus covered to protect it until we do the unveiling on Wednesday morning. We've got a very good program, a short program, but a good program for everyone. The greetings will be brought by our Mayor Avila. We welcome him. And the program will also have a recognition of all of you commissioners. We reserve seating for you all right down front. So if I go back here, I guess I can't go back here. Okay, all right. Anyway, right down front will be the seating for all the commissioners and the mayors. You'll be sitting right there up front. And then the second row of seats will be for the mayor, the commissioners and the mayor who approve the naming of the street for Dr. King. Those people like Nancy Sliker, Jan Diet, Herb Ziskow, all those folk have been invited as well because they played an instrumental part in getting the street name for Dr. King back in the day. Also, as I said, we're going to have recognition of Ms. Lucille Wheatley, who was the person whose idea it was to start the Martin Luther King celebration. Commissioner Vasquez is going to give a brief highlight on that for us. It'll be a great program. We're going to recognize the people who actually went into doing the work to build this, make this happen. The people from American Bronze, Jenny, and I know you know her, Commissioner McCool, and another guy named Jeremy that did the foundational work. They're supposed to get out there tomorrow and paint this, okay? So it's going to look a little bit better. After we put up everything, they're going to get out and paint it. But we'll recognize them. We'll also recognize our major donor for that event, which Ms. Jane Sheng was the major donor to help make this all happen. Also, we're going to have the speech, I Have a Dream speech by tonight, but I guess that's the time that I need. Are there any questions from anyone? I guess that would be appropriate at this time, perhaps?
Mike, it's not tomorrow, it's Wednesday.
Did I say tomorrow?
Yes.
In all my excitement, thank you. Yeah, it is Wednesday morning, which is actually Juneteenth, and it was not coincidental that we chose that day to do the unveiling. We did that in our planning. We almost...
All right. Good evening, community of Deltona, Mayor, Commission, and our new city manager. We are elated to have you here. My name is Joseph Hearn. I am the incoming president for our local Rotary Club, and we are here just strictly to bring greetings and share a few things with you about our club. We hope to come back in the future and maybe be on the agenda and really share with the community what we do. So first, I just want to give a quick shout out to Glenn. Glenn, and the many years I've been involved with Deltona, there's been a many interim city managers, and I have to tell you that your calmness, your patience, your ability to keep the ship alive during a very transitional time was outstanding. And you deserve a big round of applause for that, and we thank you. And I know that you will be a big support to Doc. Okay, so let me share real quick. They're going to have me on a timer. I would like maybe a 30-second heads up. I think Pat filled in another one to give us a few extra minutes.
It's
First of
working
all,
now.
what's that?
The
Oh, we got
timer's
it.
working
Okay.
now.
Oh, can we start over? I'm joking. Okay. Rotary International, our local club serves Deltona, DeBary, and Orange City. We have a very large demographic. We just wanted to come again to welcome our new city manager and bring well wishes for much success ahead. The city's been through so much. We've been there strong as a Rotary Club supporting many different entities in the city, and we just are so excited to see them have a path forward and a positive path forward, and we know your skill set is going to bring us there. We hope to come back again and share a formal presentation. I just want to share a little bit about Rotary. We are a nonpartisan, community service-driven organization with a culturally diverse group of service-minded individuals. We have a few Rotarians I noticed in the audience today. Pat Northey, an icon in our Rotary. I think I saw Tara D'Erico there. Erica Benfield's been a part of the club for many, many years, past president. Mary's husband, Eli, is there. It's too early for her in the morning, so she doesn't come. Just so you know, our Rotary Club, money raised through various fundraisers goes directly back into our local community. That's the one great thing about Rotary. We are focused really on youth services, scholarships. We've given over $50,000 over the years in scholarships. This year, Pine Ridge, Deltona High, Trinity students here in your community received scholarships. It was wonderful to go on stage and do that, and it was even more wonderful to be the second largest scholarship, besides our armed services, to be presented at those schools. So it's a great, great thing. Last year, we were able to give $10,000 to the local Boys and Girls Club. We have a focus on environment. We adopted a road right next to Deltona High, so we keep that road clean. We usually go about every quarter, unless the students at Deltona High are just having a little more fun, then we're out there a little bit more. We also have a large Hispanic population in our community, as we all know. We are working on starting a Hispanic satellite club. I'm pleased to announce over the last year, 2 years really, we have been able to have, I think 20% of our club now is bilingual. So our goal for all those Spanish-speaking individuals, we are hoping to open a satellite club right here in Deltona so you can come and speak your language and really learn what Rotary is all about. We rent space and meet at the city-owned property, the center at Deltona. We're there every Thursday morning at 7:45 a.m. The community is always welcome to come be our guest, have some breakfast, learn about what we do. New city manager Doc will probably be reaching out to you and inviting you over for a special breakfast. Our upcoming annual meeting and installation banquet dinner is coming up at the center at Deltona. It'll be on June 27th, and if anyone in the community would like to come, there are some invitations in the back on the table. Please feel free to grab one, join us. You'll really get to see so many exciting things. What not only Rotary International does.
Thank you, sir.
Oh my goodness. Can I pick up, please?
He can't speak for me, can he?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
Good answer.
Yeah, you've said enough anyway. Very quickly, welcome, Mr. Daugherty. We're glad to have you here. There will be a meet and greet for Doc. I've already talked to him about that. We want to welcome him to our community. And lastly, I just wanted to say, I think 4 of you are running, and we will hold a meet and greet for candidates. We did that 2 years ago. We'll do that again, and you will receive an invitation to that. We'll open that to the Hispanic Club, and I don't know, we're going to open that to the public. Well, if the public shows up, they're certainly going to be welcome. But that will be coming up. Those are some things. And then, of course, in November, we have our Hops and Vine, which is also held at the center. We're to the center this year, right? The center, and we will invite you all to that. But we hope that you will come out to our banquet next week. Thank you.
Courtney Cross Burgers. Courtney.
Good evening, everybody. I was here Saturday at the meeting and wanted to say it was just super awesome. I was at the table with Dana and Pat and Tina Swift, and it was, Dana had Doc come over and say hello, so we got to meet him, and Glenn and Phyllis were there, and they were walking around answering questions and being helpful as always. It was really nice to see that all the commissions were there, except for one. And everybody came up with pretty much all the same things at all the tables. It was repeated over and over again, some of the important things, and it was really nice to see that everybody could be respectful and considerate and polite and work together nicely. Now we just need the commissioners and mayor and public employees to be able to do the same so that they can bring this forward and get a good handle on that. And in another meeting a while ago, the mayor and I think Dana and maybe somebody else had brought it up about getting a whiteboard back in the room so that maybe we could cross off things as we're getting them accomplished, give us some momentum, and for us to feel accomplished, that we're getting things accomplished as well. Or maybe just on the website, but some people don't go on the website as much. So it'd just be a way of, making a list and checking it off. I also had A question, I saw the attorney at the meeting. Did we pay her to go to that meeting? Because that seems like a lot of money for not much bang for our buck. I'm excited about the, excuse me, I'm excited about Doc being here. I'm excited about Martin Luther King celebration on Wednesday. And that's all I've got to say. Have a nice evening.
Kathy Bryan, please.
Good evening, Kathy Bryan, Deltona. First of all, I'm going to echo what Ms. Cross just said. I was really thankful for the turnout that we had. I was really, really surprised at how many people, and hopefully that conveys the message to the commission that there really are people who are interested in what happens in our city. There's a lot of people that were able to attend on Saturday that can't be here in the evenings due to kids or work or whatever. So that says a lot. I like the way it was laid out. And now that we have all the different ideas, and I too was very surprised by when they said, what's the first one word that describes Deltona? The first thing that came to my mind was disorganized. And almost every other table, that was the first thing that they put up for that as well. So let's continue this on. Let's not let this halt what needs to be done for our city. So thank you to everybody who showed up. Yep, left my brain. I think that's all I have for public forum. Thank you.
Sarah Bryan.
So I almost didn't come here tonight, but I've honestly just been having a severely difficult time wrapping my head around everything that's happened over the last month. The last time I stood here, I was quite angry, so at the point where I wanted to yell, but throwing a tantrum doesn't get me anywhere, so I'll try to keep it calm tonight. To the commissioner who wasn't here 2 weeks ago, since you weren't at the last meeting, allow me to reiterate a bit of what was said. You have repeatedly come to me, sometimes a little too close for comfort, at meetings for advice on how you should handle the Pride Proclamation. And while there is an appreciation for you speaking on the subject, sometimes your good intentions were not so great. You speak and post without thinking, and it creates a certain reaction. And instead of ignoring the comments that were left, you engage and you argue with these people. And it's like you almost didn't know that this was going to happen based on what you posted. Your comments and your posts don't help us in the way that you did it, and it causes a problem. And on top of that, in the days and weeks leading up to the meeting, you didn't even bother to contact me. You contacted my father instead, including sending a picture of the proclamation to make sure that it was up to a good standard, I guess. I stood here for 2 years asking for this proclamation, and it wasn't until I spoke twice that you finally touched on the subject. So for you to tell the Daytona Beach News Journal that you've been trying to find recognition for this proclamation for 2+ years is BS to me. This fight is not yours, and it never will be. This is the LGBTQ+ community's fight. You can participate, but you cannot fight our fight for us. So until you learn to do better, I would appreciate you keeping the terms ally and advocate out of your vocabulary, because right now you're doing a disservice to them. And you know what I find funny, Mr. Mayor? You seem to have difficulties deciding on why you refused to sign the proclamation. Was it the bedrooms? Was it your religion? Or maybe it's the political party that you're so obsessed with. If you decide to stoop to the bedroom comment, I wonder where your mind is if the bedroom is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the words LGBTQ. No one mentioned a bedroom at the meeting, except you. And you're right, Local government doesn't belong in the bedroom, but nobody asked you to be there. We asked for recognition. We didn't ask you to pass laws. We didn't ask for a parade or a celebration or even a flag to be anywhere. As a community, we want to be seen and heard, but I understand your unwillingness to change your mind. But your decisions have consequences, and just as you say that government doesn't belong in the bedroom, your religion doesn't belong in my local government either. Your choice as mayor shouldn't be made because of what you choose to believe in. Your religion doesn't stop you from doing anything. You and what you decide to believe in stops you. You weren't born knowing your religion. You were taught. I wasn't taught to be gay. I didn't hear the word gay and say, hey, you know what, I don't hate myself enough. Might as well just add to it by saying I'm gay. When I stood here 2 years ago, it was the first time anyone in Deltona had spoken about a Pride Month proclamation. I didn't expect or want this to be such a big spectacle. The division started on that dais, and it needs to end there. Both you and Commissioner McCool need to stop the partisan, because while you think that she started that, she didn't. I brought it up because I wanted recognition. You, however, mentioned Nick Lully and his Republicanness, so you brought the partisan. So figure it out.
Thank you. Good evening, please. Good evening, commissioners and city manager. I apologize for not being there on Saturday because it was an important day, but I had a prior engagement, a speaking engagement in Orlando. That was very strong. This is heartfelt for me. I'm probably the oldest person here, believe it or not, Deltonian. I came in 1978. My father worked for Deltona Mackle Brothers. We used to eat at Frank Mackle's home. And hearing what the young lady just said kind of was heartbreaking for me, because one of the greatest things that I met with the Mackles on through my father, Emmanuel King, was he wanted Deltona to be diverse. And he had a staff that was diverse. My father was one of them. He brought in John Hernandez, who was from Puerto Rico. He had 3 other salesmen that were white, and my father being the only black. Each of them were charged with bringing people here in Deltona. That was in 1978. There was only 13,000 people. We knew everybody. Literally, you couldn't do anything wrong. I was driving around at 13, I will admit, and the cops pulled me over and brought me straight to my father's house because he knew who my father was, and I got a proper rod, okay? Rod of correction. Why I'm saying all that is this. In 1999, my father was terminal, and my mother decided to create a picnic in honor of his heritage, which he was Jamaican. And Veronica's here today. Veronica, you can stand with me. And my mother started an annual picnic here in Deltona. So I'm here to invite everyone to the 25th annual celebration at Rest Crow, August the 3rd, from 12 to 6. I would love for you commissioners and you city manager to show up. I would be here a little bit more often, I think I need to be, because when I came back, because my mother became terminal, in 2014, I did not probably do what I should have done way back then, because I saw a lot of change within this community, which was, I'm telling you, heartbreaking for me, who knew the Mackles and know what they dreamed Deltona to be. And I would like to remind everyone, we are human beings first. Not a political party, not a race, not a religious sector, not a gender. We are human beings first. And I would love to see this community come back to that and start celebrating everyone, not just one particular, but everybody to celebrate.
I'm Veronica Dixon, and I was here from 1976.
Ms. Dixon, can you talk to the microphone, please?
I said, I'm Veronica Dixon. I was here from 1976. I made her parents. I remember when it was only Saxon was the only road. Everything else was dirt road until our dad come. And it was such a lovely place. We wasn't fighting or anything. Everybody was all together and one accord. It didn't matter our color or where we come from. This is our place. This is where we choose to live. till God call us home or if we move to somewhere else. So, you know, we want justice. We want to mix with everybody. We want to enjoy ourselves. And as she said, in 1999, when her mom and I get together, we start this picnic. And we start having it, and we start helping school in different islands that need books, shoes, underclothes, and everything. My name is Auntie Panty because they know whenever I send something or I'm there, they're getting brand new underclothes. So that's what they name me. They see me come, they say, there go Auntie Panty, she's here. And that's a funny name to know that people doesn't have underclothes and stuff. And here, we give out diapers and everything too. So we're inviting you guys to our picnic that we have.
Louis Leal, please.
Ma'am, if you have any information on the picnic, could you leave it with the secretaries, please? Thank you.
Good evening, and everyone have a blessed day. Evening, I should say. I'm here because I want to speak about what's going to be done with Elcam Road. I understand that you guys in the previous meeting had discussed.
Mr. Lau, that's on the agenda. If you want, you can bring up your subject when we talk about it on the agenda. The elevation project.
Will I have more time?
You'll have the full 4 minutes when the time comes.
Matthew Shaw.
All right, good evening, Commission. New City Manager, welcome. Glenn, you did a good job. Thank you, for sure. All right, so I want to start out with Vision 2050. I want to echo some of the sentiments for some of the folks that came up. It was an amazing meeting. It was probably the best meeting that I've ever been to here in Deltona. And I think one of the reasons was because there was not so much people complaining, which there is a time for that, of course, but people were thinking about the future, talking about the vision, you know, where Deltona could be. And Commissioner Harriet, I appreciate getting to know you there. We had some really good back and forth there at the table, talking about, you know, the vision and where Deltona is going. So I'm not going to do a full recap, but just a couple of things that hit me. The first thing they said, when you think of Deltona, and this was basically every table said the same thing: disorganized, dysfunctioned, mismanaged, imbalanced. Right? Those are the same things that people said, right? Other things, lacking youth services, needs of downtown, obviously redevelopment. Daytona has potential, which I believe as well. Stormwater needs developments. We need sidewalks, obviously for kids to walk on and people as well too. Redeveloping Deltona Boulevard. So there were a lot of really good things that were spoken, but one of the things that I hope does not happen, that this falls on deaf ears. Great meeting, it was good, everybody was excited, but you know, what are we going to do to actually help create a vision and move this forward? Because that's one thing that I don't see that Deltona has. I don't see a vision for what's really going to happen. There are ideas, but there's no plan to put it in place. And I think if we can actually put a plan in place, I think that would move the city a lot forward. We'd know what's going on. We'd be able to balance the finances a little bit better. I know Mr. City Manager is going to come in here and break shop and, you know, change some things and make it better. But I think it's up to us as well to have a plan that we can actually execute and just not talk about things, right? So I think that's huge. But I want to say appreciate you all putting that on. It was an amazing meeting, and for the people that were there, a lot of great ideas came, and we're looking forward to more of that and moving these agendas forward. Thank you for your time. God bless.
Randy White, please.
Sure, people. All right. Brandy White, Deltona. First, I want to say thank you for no metal detector. Awesome call on that. That was a bunch of wasted money. I'm glad we're going to start saving on that. Some fun stuff before I get to the vision meeting. Pickleball. I don't know if anybody likes doing it, but we're out there every Tuesday about 6:30 at Harris Saxon Park, and it is a lot of fun. So I encourage more people to come out. It's become like a kind of cool little thing for the community to kind of get together and do, and we battle each other, and it's been a lot of fun. Daddy-daughter dance this past Thursday. I'd like to quote one of your attendees, Katie, who is 8, and she said, if I could rate this place, I would give it a 10 out of 5. So that was my famous quote for the night. She wanted to give big props to those who took the time to decorate. She did attend last year as well, and she apparently saw a difference. I didn't attend the previous year, but she was mentioning how well it was decorated and how much time must have been spent on it, and she was just really eyeballing the room in the detail and was kind of giving me a whole breakdown of her thoughts. The only thing she did critique is that there was no limbo this year. So just something to throw out there. I guess she was expecting some limbo, something to keep an eye on. Vision meeting. I know we've probably been hearing the same things over and over, but I also want to touch base on it because it was such an exceptional meeting, in my opinion, as well. The turnout, I did not expect to see such a great turnout. What I really enjoyed was the setup and how you had 8 different tables. We had commissioners and the mayor all involved at the table with residents and some dialogue. And that is something that I noticed, like everybody you couldn't have given more time. Like they could have sat there for hours and just continued with that dialogue. And I think that really should tell you something about what the residents are really feeding for. Like everybody else, the first word did kind of catch my attention, that everybody's first thought of Deltona is disorganized. Not surprised, but I would like to see that changed. I would like to see that no longer on the visioning board, and let's say the next visioning meeting. I know that might be a push, but I'd really like to see that word drop off. Second was the community was really wanting connectivity, and not just between us in the government, but also in terms of parks and pathways and biking, things to do within the community with their families. Another big push was less residential and more carefully placed commercial, because there's only so much commercial land we have before we don't have any. And I'd like to really hone in on the fact with the rezoning, we only have so many types of agricultural and commercial properties left, so we need to really keep that in mind. And lastly, infrastructure and roads, always a priority, but something that was discussed in every idea we came up with. The problem was, well, what about the roads and infrastructure? Like, great idea, but not reality until we get those in line. And that's about it. Thank you.
Robert Trombetta, please.
Rob Trombetta from Golden Arm. This is an extension of Mike Williams' conversation, since he can't speak again. This is about Deltona's Juneteenth celebration. It's on Saturday, June 22nd. Let me take my glasses off. At the Greater Faith AME Church, 800 Deltona Boulevard. That's by the bagel place and across the street from the Remax, I think it is. So it's kind of right there. It's going to be great. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's going to be a whole bunch of vendors there. There's going to be food, fun, and celebration. So that, Mike, that's for you. I just like to say that I just want to actually thank Dana McCool for her support on last week. It shouldn't be excluding. We shouldn't be excluding people from the LGBTQ community or Q+ community. It's not subtraction. It should be addition. And if you're an ally, I'm a member of PFLAG, which is Parents and Friends for gay, lesbian, transgender, etc. folks, and and that's just for allies. That's really just to support people. So I remember a year ago, Ms. Bryan came up here and said that chastised the city for not having this proclamation. I remember specifically Commissioner McCool came and said in her comments that she promised that she would make the proposal for that this year, and she basically followed her promise. She delivered on her promise to make the proposal, and what happened, happened. So, again, thank you for being a supporter. I take you as a supporter. I take many of you as a supporter of the LGBTQ community. And the last thing is, I read a letter about a group that was called to action here today. And coming from somebody who chastised us as being political, I didn't come here last week as a member of a political party. I came here as a gay citizen of Deltona, who happens to be a member of the political party, just like all of you are, or some of you are not MPAs. So to chastise us as being political and then call for a huge political rally is really, truly hypocritical. The other thing that Ms. Bryant said that was true was just a couple of weeks ago, a month ago so far, Mayor, you ripped up the proclamation proposal, basically saying that it was your power. And then 2 months later, you said somebody else had the power to sign. Well, it was convenient for one, but then when it became inconvenient, you wanted to pass the torch to somebody else. And I find that a tidbit hypocritical, so thank you very much.
Mr. Trombetta, can you leave that information, if you don't mind, with the clerks for the Justin Square Juneteenth information, please?
Yes, sir.
He wants information for Juneteenth.
Excuse me. William Maybrill, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm William Mayberry, resident of Deltona. I felt compelled to speak after hearing some of the other speakers here, and wanted to come out and say that, yeah, criticism hurts for all of us. And I believe that we should hear those words and maybe kind of chew them up and see if there's anything in there that we can take away from those criticisms to better ourselves. We all make mistakes as humans, and we all have a chance to come back and learn from those mistakes and do better the next time. Again, whether it spans the gambit of proclamations or postings on social media, whatever it is, we should be constantly learning and going forward. Whatever issues that we have in the city, we have to address them together because we're all in this together. No matter whether we believe in lifestyles or choices or anything, the municipal government, all these decisions affect all of us, regardless of that. I'm not going to get flooded just because I'm gay or because I'm not gay. My garbage still needs to be picked up, whether I'm a Republican or a Democrat. Like, all of the issues that we have going forward, they transcend political divisions. They transcend lifestyles. And we have to focus on that together. But it's difficult, and it's always going to be difficult because we don't share the same beliefs. We have to find that common ground, though, where we do come together and we do create change based on our shared values of peace and security and inclusion. And I want to say that personally, I welcome everybody's opinion here, even though I don't agree with all of them. Across the board, whether they are denouncing somebody up here or whether they're supporting people up here. This is a city of inclusion, and that includes things that are uncomfortable to hear and things that we don't like. And that's ultimately really where our strength comes in, where we are challenged by the things that we see, and yeah, we don't really understand it, and maybe we don't even comprehend it or don't like it. There's something in it that gets us. But that is a moment and an opportunity for us to take and say, what is it? Why did I feel that way? And examine that, and then come back and say, you know what? That's okay. Because there are many more things that we have together that we can work on and that we can move forward with. So I just want to leave you with that we're all in this together. And I want to welcome you, Doc, to the city. Pleasure to have you here. And to everybody else that has come out tonight, welcome as well. Like, this is a city of inclusion across the board. So we appreciate everybody that's out here. Thank you. Have a good night.
Albert Bryan, please.
Albert Bryan, Deltona. I want to read something to y'all real quick, like it's from the IMCA Code of Ethics. It's tenet number 9. It states, keep the community informed on local
Mr. Bryan,
government
I'll stop your
affairs.
time really quick. If whoever has that phone on, could you please respectfully silence it? We have a speaker trying to speak, please. Go ahead, Mr. Bryan.
Encourage and facilitate active engagement and constructive communication between community members and local government officials. Guideline of engagements. Members should ensure community members can actually engage with their local government, as well as eliminate barriers and support involvement of the community in the governance process. Now, I wasn't here Saturday. I work. Everybody knows I work out at the flea market. But everything I've heard about what happened here Saturday actually tends to go contrary to everything else I've heard the last few months. That's amazing that on one Saturday we could actually have something that was halfway decent in this city. Now, Doc, I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a great tenure here. That being said, now I need to bring something else to the forefront. When our government officials actually engage with the news media, we expect them to be truthful, not lie through their teeth. When you take and call and or speak to the news media, you should be honest, because now I have no trust in you at all, period. Because on June 30th, 2023, during a meeting, at the very end for commission special reports and requests, Dana McCool asked the then manager and the then attorney to write up a proclamation for Pride Month for 2024. For you to say that she did this all of a sudden without anything but a political agenda is disingenuous, for one, because you're the only one that's been political about this whole thing. You don't see any of us calling our good friends here to take and come support us, because we're all men, we stand up and do it. Or we're all people, humans, whatever you want to call us. Now, I'm a straight man. And I enjoy being a straight man. I thoroughly do. But that doesn't mean I cannot support other people and what they do and what they choose to live their life in. It doesn't matter to me how they live their life. You know why? Because it's not my life. It's theirs. Now, you know, you brought this up as religion at the end of last meeting, and then you turned it into a political thing after that. So which is it? Is it a political thing, or is it a religious thing? Because in my book, it's neither. When you bring oh, that's right, you said you're a constitutional Republican. Well, you know, in the Constitution, it says separation of religion and state. Start practicing that, please. Now, the other thing that I really have a problem with is the fact that we can't trust you anymore.
Mayor, that closes public comments.
All right, at this time, we're going to go ahead and enter into ordinances and public hearings. We're going to go into public hearing ordinance number 05-2024, amending the comprehensive plan of the city of Deltona by amending the capital improvements element, providing for the replacement of the capital improvement project 5-year schedule. Jessica.
Good evening, City Commission, Vice Mayor, Mayor. Jessica Entwistle, Planner 2 for the record. This is the final hearing for this ordinance. The CIE evaluates the level of service threshold for the city and comprehensive plan. The CIE is updated annually per Florida statutes 163.3177. Waste Pro is the executive waste hauler for the city until 2025. The capita has not changed since last year. The city has 697 acres of developed parkland. The level of service for parks is calculated per acres per 1,000 residents and is programmed to increase annually. The use of city water has increased by 1 gallon per day since last year. The city still retains adequate capacity. The city is served by 3 high schools, 3 middle schools, and 10 elementary schools. And this is the screen I showed you guys last time from Volusia County School Board, showing 157 students will be moved from Timbercrest Elementary to Deltona Lakes and Friendship Elementary to ensure there's capacity in workspaces for children. While the city has over 450 miles of roadways, not all are maintained by the city. Some fall under the county or state of Florida. Improvements on roadways are normally funded by impact fees, bonds, gas tax, and grants. These are the standards level of service adopted by the comprehensive plan for PM peak hour functions. The city has stormwater projects used to serve as maintenance and improve stormwater management. The goal of upgrading and maintaining existing projects is to solve drainage problems that have occurred due to inadequate stormwater infrastructure. The upgrades follow the list shown, but include flooding in homes or businesses, flooding of major city thoroughfares, and nuisance flooding. While the city is mostly managed by septic tanks, there are about 100 miles of wastewater pipes and services. The wastewater customer base has increased over 400 customers in the last year. The city is working to expand the Eastern Wastewater Plant and improve the Fisher Plant. The city engages in cost-share agreements with developers for the extension of sewer and encourage commercial development throughout the city. And staff recommends the City Commission approve ordinance number 05-2024, amending the comprehensive plan by updating the capital improvements element, providing for the replacement of the capital improvement project 5-year schedule.
Motion to approve.
We have Commissioner McCool on the board and City Attorney. There's a motion on the dais to approve by Commissioner Harriet.
Second.
And
can build more schools, but not that they have adequate staffing. So if you were to take that portion where there is a teacher shortage in these schools and you factor it into the actual data set, a lot of these schools are over capacity. So as you're moving through, please go to your county and your school board and talk to them about this, because it's something that's not talked about when this is presented towards development, when this is presented anytime a level of service is presented by the school board. They're not giving you complete information, and we need to do better on that to protect our children, because what we're doing is we're herding our children into schools and we're sitting them there without proper teaching, especially when it comes to our ESE population. And I just would tell our people out here to please raise Cain about this, because it's not going to improve without that. Also, as we move through here, we are approving this 5-year capital plan, that we need to think about what LOS means to us. Deltona was built for 70,000 people. We're now at 100,000 people, and we have to ask ourselves, how much more do we have infrastructure for? Because development's pace does not keep up with the infrastructure that we need. And I don't think a city, nor a county, nor a state can really build well until you understand what your capacity is. What is your acceptable capacity in a city? And we talked about this also. How many people do you think will fit in Deltona? I just want you to keep that in mind as we move through and we do our comprehensive plan, and we hold our county and our state responsible for these when we talk about level of service. You can't predict level of service until you understand how many people you expect to live in your city. So I'd really like to see us do better on that as we move through in the upcoming years. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
City Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there is something wrong with my microphone. It won't turn off, so I have to be particularly careful this evening. Anyway, this is ordinance number 05-2024, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan of the City of Deltona by amending the capital improvements element, providing for the replacement of the capital improvement project 5-year schedule, finding conformity with state statutes, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Before we go to a vote, is there any public comment?
Yes, sir. Brandy White, please.
Brandy White, Deltona. I wasn't going to speak, but the schools were brought up, which you know me and you've had very in-depth conversations on, as specifically the formula. And you mentioned about us needing to raise Cain with legislation, but I want to remind you guys also to keep something in mind. You have paid a lobbyist. Okay, we have one for the City of Deltona. This is precisely what I feel they should be out there lobbying for us to do, and is that to fix that formula, right? We have the data to support that it needs corrected and updated. Our contract was for 3 years in 2022. Have we done anything? Have we told our lobbyists to do anything for us at all? I just want to point out that since that was brought up, that's something we should probably look at. Thank you.
Mayor, that ends public comments.
Okay, can we please vote?
Motion passes unanimously 7-0.
All right, this time we're going to enter a quasi-judicial hearing. Ordinance number 08-2024, amending the official zoning map to rezone 2 parcels totaling 43.55 acres of land located south of Fernanda Drive and east of Pine Ridge High School, currently zoned City of Deltona Agricultural Classification A to single-family classification R1. If I can please have planning. And while planning is coming up, can I please have the city attorney?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Any of you who wish to speak in this matter, we kind of divide this into 2 sections. First, if you are
standing,
if you are vested with regards, if you have been vested and you got a letter in the mail notifying you of it, then you have legal standing with regards to this project. So I would ask that you stand so I can swear you in, and also any consultants or folks that plan to testify for the applicant or any other interested parties. I don't know, we may have, do we have the HOA representatives also? If you would please be sworn. Would you please raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak on this matter may also speak. You just don't have those same vested rights, so you can, fill out a form and speak. Thank you. And then, Mr. Mayor, I would ask you to poll your commission with regards to ex parte communications. Thank you.
Before we start with the presentation of the staff report, if I can ask each commissioner, starting with Commissioner Harriet, have you had any ex parte communication?
I had a conversation with, I believe, the developer or one of the builders today.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Nope.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
None.
Commissioner McCool?
None.
Commissioner Colwell?
None.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
I've had multiple conversations, as this is in my district, I've had multiple conversations with the owner of the property, developers for the property, people who live in the property, people from the HOA over several years. I was also on the P&Z when this came before me several times in P&Z, so I've had multiple conversations throughout the years about this project.
And I myself have had conversations with residents that live in the area. Jessica?
All right, the applicant is requesting to change the zoning from agriculture to R1 single-family residential for 43.55 acres of land located directly behind the Fernanda subdivision. The rezone would allow the new phase to have 101 single-family dwellings. The future land use for this project is low-density residential, and the applicant is requesting to rezone to the R1, which is the typical zoning for most of Deltona Lake's lots within the city. This is the master development plan for Fernanda Phase 3. The lot breakdown is shown here. As you can see, 92 units of the 101 will be 9,000 square feet, and the wetlands are not being impacted. This is the current state of the property. There is a single-family home to the north, and the nursery is now abandoned. For the matters of consideration, staff reviewed for the rezone proposal. The future land use of low-density residential is followed, as they are well below the 6 units per acre. There are no impacts to the wetlands, and this is an extension to the Fernanda Place subdivision, but with larger lots. The TIA states the project will generate 1,018 new daily trips with 75 in the morning peak hour and 100 with the PM peak hour. Although a signal warrant analysis was done and did not require a signal to be installed, staff is recommending the applicant perform a field review and a signal warrant analysis after Phase 3 dwellings are fully occupied. Volusia County has also made the request to include additional data. In conclusion, the applicant is requesting to rezone to R1 zoning, which has a minimum of 7,400 square feet lots, but the applicant is providing larger lots on 90% of those lots with 2.32 units per acre. The project is consistent with the comprehensive plan and low-density residential future land use designation. And based on the decision-making criteria for the submittal, staff finds no valid reason to object to the request to rezone Fernanda Place Phase 3 from agriculture to R1. Staff further supports that the City Commission approve ordinance number 08-2024 with the following condition: the developer perform a field review and signal warrant analysis after Phase 3 dwelling units are fully occupied. And are there any questions?
Commissioner Rott?
Oh, wonderful. Jessica, when you made a comment about this, the wetlands not.
So you guys know, we have questions first for staff, and then we have questions for applicants. So
I got a question for you.
Okay. Do you still want to speak to staff right now?
Yeah. No, I'm happy.
All right. Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
What was Jessica, what was the recommendation from the P&Z?
The P&Z recommended denial 4-3.
And what was their reasoning?
They had issues with it only having one entrance and exit as of right now. It does have a step out for future, but it only has one way to get in and out as of right now.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, since Jody brought it up, I think I can talk to you, Jessica. Do you know one of the reasons why I voted against this project a while back was because of the second exit that's supposed to be emergency exit? Do you know if there's any changes made to that?
Not that I'm aware of. The applicant can talk more on it, but not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I'll speak to the applicant because that was my concern. Thank you,
Commissioner Shimkus.
I was just going to, I guess, echo that. If we have any information or input from our emergency services about the viability of this and that kind of traffic pattern in that area, have they weighed on this at all?
They haven't. This is just a concept plan. We normally require 4 rezones, but this could completely change. It is going to have the 101 units, but like I said, it's just a concept plan. It could still change a little bit.
Thank you, Jessica. Is there, if we can get the presentation now from the applicant?
Good evening, Commission members. Jesse Anderson, Pullis and Bennett, 2602 East Livingston, Orlando, Florida. Tonight before you, we do have Fernanda Phase 3 rezoning. Just to be clear, though, this is a separate project from the original Fernanda that you have seen before you. It is, of course, a straight zoning request rather than a planned unit development request. So with that, there are some different parameters about our application, as well as some of the things that you'll see in accordance with the actual layout of the plan. And one of those being, of course, the larger lots that can accommodate and incorporate many of the more accessory structures that are typical of residential plots throughout the city, whereas when we're speaking of the plan development that's to the north, it has a significant smaller lot type nature to it that restricts a lot more of those accessory structures. So part of this request, of course, this is for the area located south side of Fernanda Drive and directly east of Pine Ridge High School. The summary of the request that was mentioned by staff, and staff did a great job tonight discussing this overall topic. It's a rezoning request from agricultural to single-family residential R1. And to be clear, this is an agricultural project by zoning district, not by future land use, so there is a bit of a difference there. The agricultural zoning district with a future land use of low-density residential still does have a primarily single-family detached individual lot orientation due to its future land use, which is, of course, the governing aspect of it that's followed up by its zoning. The LDR is first and foremost a residential designation, although it can have other aspects to it. But again, this request not only is in conformance with the future land use, it continues the idea of that residential nature, which is in conformance with the general area that surrounds it. So tonight we have this aerial overview of the two parcels that are in question, which, as you can see, are south of the overall residential plan unit development to the north that is also known as Fernanda, and they're east of the Pine Ridge High School. As mentioned by staff, the existing FLU is up to 6 dwelling units per acre. This is already in place, while the zoning district, of course, does allow for only minimum of 1 acre lots. But we do want to note that this, again, is a residential in nature area because of its future land use, so those minimum 1 acre lots can be developed to about 40 to 44 lots, roughly, depending on how the overall subdivisioning would take place with that. So tonight what we're proposing is a similar type of product with a little bit smaller and a bit of variation in lot type. So with the overall agricultural designation that it currently has underneath its zoning district, it requires a 1,400 square foot minimum for its residential structures, whereas in the proposed zoning district that would change to 1,200 square feet. So about a 200 square foot difference in its overall structure minimum requirements for single family residential. So with that, our concept plan tonight shows approximately 101 units, which is a proposed density of 2.32 dwelling units per acre. And there is a variation of product types with the smallest 2 lots, and there are only 2 at the minimum 7,400 square foot marker. And the rationale for those 2 lots being substantially shorter than the rest of the products, as you can see there, the 2 blue lots, that is because they're the closest to abutting and impacting a wetland, but they do not impact the wetland. And part of that, as I'll get to a little bit further, is the 20-foot buffer that's created around wetlands to ensure that they do not have impacts on them, which a previous plan about a year or so ago did have impacts towards those wetlands. We have avoided that in this instance. So as you can see here, there are 3 different product types that range from 7,400 square feet to 2 more products that are 75 square feet or 75 feet wide with 120 to 110 feet depth that vary. This is the previous concept plan that many of you are familiar with, and what you'll notice from this is that there are a lot less lots overall. So we went from an approximately 3.83 dwelling unit per acre density projection for the area and reduced that to only that 2.32 dwelling units per acre that you're seeing here, but still did want to maintain the variation in product type because that's very important in terms of the housing supply for the city. So So going beyond that, we also just wanted to note some specific and key characteristics about the property, one of which is that the property is not within the 100-year flood zone or floodplain, and the development will not impact any flood zones. And furthermore, the development is intended to and will retain all stormwater on the property. One of the beneficial aspects of this is that we do have larger lots with less impervious surface, which is going to make it a lot easier to incorporate much of those drainage issues that could have been foreseen with more intensified and more dense products. So instead, we will maintain and meet, if not exceed, local stormwater and drainage requirements through our design patterns, especially with that less densified area proposed for this region. And then, of course, we are at our straight rezoning into a specific zoning category that is not a specialized one like a PUD, so we were not necessarily required to go through a transportation impact analysis this early in the game, but we wanted to provide additional information about this property and the potential development that's going to go underway. That way you all have a better understanding and more informative determinations when you are voting on this matter. So we did conduct a signal warrant analysis, as staff had mentioned, which did determine whether or not there was a need and justification for the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of Howland Boulevard and Fernanda Drive. And through the study, it was determined that a signal was not recommended for installation at this location through any impacts that the current level of the Fernanda Phase 3 development was projected to have. At this time, I'm going to pass it over to my partner for a few moments just to discuss some of the HOA implications about this property and its association with the Fernanda portion to the north.
Hi, Tina Lee with Starlight Homes, 1064 Greenwood Boulevard, Lake Mary. We are Starlight Homes, which was one of the builders within Fernanda Phases property. That cleanup has been done. In addition, there was safety concern that that amenity pond area was also being accessed by the residents with their ATVs. We had cordoned it off, blocked it off, gated it up, locked the gates, but apparently people still get in. So we went in and made sure it was secure. We put up additional blocks to make sure no access can be made. In addition, one of the requests was that the HOA management company be changed, and we spoke with Ms. Sutton, who is one of the board members of the HOA, and gave her several options of companies that she could choose from, and she chose an HOA company that has taken place. There was a 60-day notice provision under the contract, and I believe that new HOA management company is effective July 1st. In addition, just wanted to be aware that, this HOA is operating at, they're in the block, they're reserved, they've got a reserve fund, and there's 2 to 3% of delinquencies in this community, which is rare. Your typical delinquencies are 12 to 15%. So it's nice to see that we have a community that's paying their bills with only the very small 2 to 3% of delinquencies. And that's all I have right now. Jeffrey?
Thank you very much. Real quick, before we go into a couple more slides to finalize up this presentation, I did want to note a couple of things that were mentioned during the portion towards our lovely staff member that may not have known some of the changes we've identified since our planning and zoning meeting. One of which was the small path-ish way that looks to cross through that green space up in the northeast of that property. That is actually going to be a stabilized emergency access. It's not exactly going to lie where it is there because we have to configure it with a turning radius. We have made sure there is enough space for that, but we are currently, of course, working on a conceptual diagram which will be much more engineered through further phases if we do receive approval tonight. But I did want to acknowledge that that is an emergency access pathway, and it would only be for that use with a gate there for emergency types of access only. We would be dedicating area enough for, let's see if I can scroll in for 1 second. Yeah, okay. It's a little difficult to see, but across this black space up here, this black dash marker, on the property that we're talking about tonight, there is going to be a dedication for if the city were to ever want to develop that roadway. But of course, we are not going to be doing anything of that sort with this project. This is only for the emergency access there. It's just that type of property is going to be designated there because it is a paper right-of-way. So it is just so that the city can make any determinations on any future needs for that type of transportation corridor. And then lastly, just to quickly go over the matters of consideration, as mentioned by staff, the existing future land use allows for up to 6 dwelling units per acre. Our current proposition is for 2.32 dwelling units per acre as a maximum, and this is a reduced request from 167 dwelling units in a previous concoction of this concept plan underneath the plan unit development construction to a 101 unit underneath the R1 zoning district. There will be a 25-foot upland buffer per city wetland protection regulations, which is part of what will allow for and maintain any wetlands in the area without impact, and we are not proposing any impact to those wetlands through this concept plan or this rezoning request. The aesthetics for the region are going to be maintained in place through the Fernanda Place, and the proposed rezoning does maximize the existing land resources and does not constitute urban sprawl, as staff had mentioned. The project promotes land use compatibility with existing uses, as it does have the adjacency to the high school as well as proximity to an elementary school and a middle school, and then as well as having the Fernanda Place to the north with similar residential but in a less densified and intense way. The applicant, of course, is accepting of having to perform the environmental analysis, and there is capacity in the surrounding school districts. This did waiver between 82 to 103%, which is under their 115% threshold, pretty significantly at least for this general area. And the project will connect to central water and sewer provided by the City of Deltona Water. Lastly, staff did recommend approval with condition, and we do request tonight approval with the ability to potentially answer any questions, and that request for approval is, of course, in the understanding of a condition associated with staff's recommendation.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take a point of privilege, and then we'll go to Vice Mayor Jody Lee, Commissioner McCool, Commissioner Harriet, and Commissioner Vila Vasquez. I just have a couple questions, and then I'll reserve the last couple questions after the commission. They're allowed to use the current pool that the other phases of the Fernanda Place is currently using?
Hi, Tina Lee again from Starlight Homes. Yes, they will be able to use the pool. They will be members of the existing HOA.
So I asked that because I did watch the P&Z meeting. Some of those questions were brought up, and I've spoken to enough residents in the area. They have huge concerns about that. We're going to stack up 101 other houses, and we're not talking about 101 people. We're talking about more than that, right? And then we're going to get a pool that's already packed and pack it up with more people on top of that. There's a question of safety, of traffic in the morning, traffic when you're coming back from work. That's going to be obviously a big issue. What is the current? What are your currently? Where are you guys at as far as how many houses are sold? What is the percentage?
71% right now.
Have you guys turned it over completely? The HOA completely over to the residents?
Phases 1 and 2 have not been turned over at this time. It's according to our covenants and restrictions, turnover is at 90% within 3 months of attaining 90% sold.
All right, lastly, currently what are you legally allowed to build right there? How many homes? That would probably be you.
It's 1 per acre, so the total would be for the 43 acres, 43 units potentially, not including any potential right-of-ways that would have to be created for that.
Okay, I'll reserve the rest of my questions. Vice Mayor Jody Lee, and then Commissioner McCool.
So you said right now, as it stands, it's phase 1 and 2, it's 70% sold? Or
Of the 3 phases?
no, just the first 2?
Well, the third phase has been annexed into the CCNRs already. So of the first 2 phases, 100% are sold.
Okay, because I remember exactly what was, I asked on P&Z and when I got elected, was the HOA turnover to residents, because once it got 90%, it was supposed to be turned over to residents. there was a mess from phase 1 and 2 that was left over in the back. And then we asked about the Cemetery Osteen Road to get cleaned up so emergency vehicles can get through there and get destroyed by trees as they get back and forth, because that was the emergency access if they needed to. And so now with adding phase 3, you lower it back down to 70%, so then the people that live in the HOA don't get control of their HOA, because now you're adding 100 more homes, so it drops it down below the 90% ratio. It's supposed to be 90% they take over. Now it goes back down to 70, so they don't get to take over their HOA and run their own community. The second one was the trash in the back. Did they ever, I understand you mentioned they cleaned up all of the leftover debris from phase 1 and 2. Do you know
Yes,
when
sir.
they cleaned that up?
It was last week.
Last week. So I brought it up 2 years ago, and they cleaned it up last week? Okay, I'm just asking. It just, to me, I'm glad it went from the 160 down to 100. That's what a lot of the people in the HO were complaining about. I spoke to different people about it. I think I spoke to you at an attorney's office, and I'm glad it went the way it is. My issue with it is now is that one emergency access road that was going to go out on fire, the Osteen Cemetery Road, now you guys kicked it over and you made that path. Is that a footpath, or is it a road big enough for a fire truck to get through on the northeast corner that you showed on there?
Yes, this pathway up here will be at least 20 feet wide, so it will be stabilized for any emergency access for any potential fire trucks or any other types of emergency vehicles.
But if it's going to be 20, is it going to be a straight road or crooked like that? Because we have fire trucks. I can't see them jogging around in little corners.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to see here, but it won't meander as much, and that's where this is still conceptual in nature, but it has enough width for any turning radius that would be by any detail for the city.
So is there anything in the HOA's responsibility if their emergency vehicle had to come up that Osteen Cemetery Road and all them trees destroy our $1,000 million fire truck? Are you guys?
If the owner has had that conversation.
That's about all. I'm good for it. Thank you.
Commissioner McCool, then Commissioner Harriet, then Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Mr. Mayor, I had wanted to hear, I didn't hear about the, I don't have a question for the applicant. I've seen this, we've been here before, but I had a question regarding the P&Z's vote whenever. So could I ask the, Jessica, the P&Z 4-3, what was, I want to hear the concerns again, because this is zoned right now for agriculture. They could go in and build it one house per acre right now. We don't have to give permission to do that. And there's nothing saying that we have to do this. You can go do what you want to do on it as it is right now. So what is the reason for?
They had concerns about it having one entrance and one exit, although there is a stub out for future development, so it would have eventually two. Right now it would only have one. That was their main concern.
And if I remember correctly, Jessica, do you remember we talked about this last time regarding the phases 1, 2? I understand that each one is independent. Each development that we talk about is independent of one another. However, that kind of goes out the window once you put the same name, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So there were public concerns regarding safety, vehicles on the street, sidewalks not being wide enough, parking being congested. Did you hear any of those concerns regarding that this time?
No, we did not have anyone in the actual Fernanda come and speak at the P&Z meeting.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for.
Commissioner Harriet, then Commissioner Avila Vasquez, and then we'll go to people with standing.
I'm having a lot of heartache with this project and the fact that we've got wetlands, which are a type of ecosystem. And when you take a system and you put a big neighborhood around it, and you put a bunch of houses on one side and roughly through the middle of it, the system no longer functions. A 20-foot buffer is not enough to handle the flooding that we saw in District 1 during Hurricane Ian. For that reason alone, I can't put Jody's residents through that.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez, if you have nothing else, Commissioner Harriet, no.
Thank you, Mayor. So I don't have a question, I have a comment. I drove down that road that takes you to the cemetery. And on both sides I have an SUV. On both sides of that road is just wetlands. And my SUV filled up that road. So I'm just questioning, because of the safety of the residents that are going to be living there, how can we get a fire truck followed by an ambulance? And of course, our sheriff's office always sends their guys as well. I just can't see how our fire truck, never mind the road on the green, but the road that they're using, what is the name of that road again? Osteen Cemetery. I just can't see how our fire truck, they can't even make a turn on Tivoli. We had to remove half of the middle easement so our fire trucks could turn. I just can't see them turning there in case of an emergency. And our ambulance, I'm not even, they already made the comments about the inside of the subdivision. My concern is the safety of the residents. If our fire trucks have no other access but the Osteen Road entrance to get into that. And I wish we had the opinion of one of our fire departments, so they can see that. I just can't see our fire trucks. There's not much space. There's not much space from that road for them to turn without having to do a backup and then in and then back up again. I just don't see it. My SUV couldn't do it. So that's my concern.
This is, again, not perfect and design. It has not been up to the city standards, which, measured to the city standards that it would be during the subdivision construction plan phases. And if it were not to adhere to those during that time period, it would not be able to pass the subdivision construction plan phases. So even if it were to have an entitlement to it of R1 zoning, if we cannot comply with your city standards at the subdivision construction plan phases, then we cannot continue on and develop on this property. So while there are fears and hesitations at certain things here tonight, there are things that are dealt with during later portions of this project if it were to receive approval, that if it were to go through the reviews with staff, they are going to be looking at it for those, and fire will be one of the reviewers for this during the Development Review Committee meetings that we would have for subdivision construction plans.
Thank you, Mayor.
We're going to go to Vice Mayor Jody Lee, and then we'll go to residents with standing, and then we'll go to public participation after.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love how they shrunk the houses down, how it was before. I wish more developers in our city would do that same thing, because we're building houses on top of houses. How many houses are so far in 1 and 2?
How many?
Phase 1 and 2.
252.
There's 252. This would be another 100, so 352. And like I said, but then you have you said you had a stub out for a future development. So what you're trying to say is you're already planning on us to approve something else on more houses on the other side of it. But we haven't even got that yet. So the stub out was basically just a dead end street where someone could park. So you got the 352 cars. They're all coming out, one entrance and one exit, right? How many trips a day is that between the 352 houses? Because the worst part is I hate how they say it's 2 cars per house. I don't know if anybody's drove through here, but there's 6 or 7 cars in every house. The kids all have cars. They don't leave home until they're 40 years old no more. So there's 10 cars at a house. So how many trips are you projecting between 1, 2, and 3 for leaving? And then I see your other slide saying you don't think you should have a light out there, which even baffles me even more, because there's a school right next door too, and on both sides. Yeah, one on each side. So it baffles me that somebody would say that a traffic light shouldn't be there with 350 houses, a school on both sides, school zones during the day, school zones in the afternoon, morning, and you don't need a traffic light there. I mean, I'm just looking at the safety factors of it.
Sure. So for the first portion of there being the stub out is not to any future development that we are proposing in now, or as far as I understand right now in the foreseeable future. That is part of your land development code, looking for multiple access points throughout properties and maintaining connectivity through different subdivisions and neighborhoods. That's just to promote your overall transportation network in the future as well as during now. So that's something we want to comply and advance as much as possible. In regard to the overall number of units and flow through that area, mind you, this is not a future land use right now. It has its future land use intact. The future land use is 6 dwelling units per acre at its maximum, and that is what your level of service through your comprehensive plan is based off of. So this does comply with your level of service for your comprehensive plan for your traffic area. So this is not tripping any of those thresholds, and we will have to go through a transportation impact analysis to determine any roadway improvements that may be necessitated from this project. We've done a preliminary signal analysis to identify any potential needs, and at this point in time, there are no identified potential needs, but we also do want to acknowledge that we want to be compliant with staff's request if receiving approval, where we would go through with a post-development signal warrant analysis to determine if there's still a need for a signal warrant at that time.
One more question, I'll be done. You said this was phase 1 and 2 is totally separate from phase 3. They have nothing to do with each other, right?
In the zoning case.
Well, how do you, if it's totally separate in the zoning case, how do you combine it for the HOA? Because at 90%, it was supposed to give, the HOA was supposed to be given over to the residents, so you guys just purposely add another 100, so it drops to 70%, so the HOA people that live there can't take control of their HOA where they live.
So this has always been contemplated as a 3-phase subdivision, and this is just the 3rd phase being brought in.
Well, how can you say it was,
Let's go to people with standing. Just as we're going to people with standing, I want to let the developer know that we get a little chastised depending on who the developer is on, we have rights and we have rights. If you're here asking us for a variance or a change in zoning, obviously we're not violating your private property rights. You're asking for a change. So I want to clarify that. Go ahead, people with standing, please.
Jennifer Sutton, please.
And are we allowed to answer questions afterwards? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Sutton, 1028 Landing Lane, resident and elected HOA Board Secretary Treasurer for Fernanda Place Community. This is not my first time in front of you to address the discussion of Fernanda Phase 3. First off, at the recent Planning and Zoning meeting, the rezoning was turned down 4-3, as you're aware. Until the residents take over the HOA, Ashton Woods still has employees as president and vice president positions with the HOA. I am listed as the secretary treasurer. I am also the only resident that is on the board, and I was elected there in 2021. On Friday, May 10th, John Stalzer and I met with Quint Nordstar from Galvin Company. He gave us the rundown of the newly proposed Phase 3 of Fernanda. We also gave him the information on what was to be done per the Deltona City Commissioners meeting held between 2021 and 2022. Those items include the HOA to be transferred to the residents. An update on this, we received an email this morning from Quint. The new deed will be recorded today, supposedly, and the HOA will be transferred shortly. As of July 1st, Melrose Property Management is no longer with Fernanda. Beacon will be taking over as property manager. Cleanup of the amenity ponds area finally started on 6/12/24. Still a long way to go before it's completed. They need cleaning, new fencing and structure installed, and etc. Osteen Cemetery Road needed to be cleaned and infrastructure assessed. Modifications will need to be made to make it accessible to fire trucks and other first responder vehicles. Osteen Cemetery Road is proposed to be used as emergency egress to Fernanda Phase 3. Original proposed Phase 3 in 2022 was 166 homes. The actual original was only 33 homes where those amenity ponds were. That was in the original ERP from the St. John's Water Management District. In the 2022, we did turn down as residents the tot lot, dog park, and a second pool due to the increased matter of HOA dues and also the liability. Let's see. As of today, the following builders have communities under construction near Fernanda Place within a 5-mile radius. Lennar Homes has 152. LGI has 220. Ashton Woods has another 259. That's roughly 630 more families, increasing traffic flows, school overcrowding, and more. Of those communities, how many are still under construction several years later? I'm sure the residents of Fernanda Place do not want construction going on in our neighborhood for the next 3 to 5 years. In their little cheat sheet, they mentioned urban urban sprawling. The definition of urban sprawling is a common pattern of uncontrolled development that occurs when cities and their suburbs expand outward to the outskirt and into rural areas. Under Phase 3, I believe that's what they're doing. And I thank you for listening to me, and I hope you vote against this because none of the residents want it. Thank you.
David Dregors.
Hello, I'm David Dregors. I live at 815 Osteen Cemetery Road, and I just wanted to bring up a couple of concerns we've had. Namely, I keep hearing on the map there's a section at the lower that shows the stub out going to the southern portion of the property. And my concern there is, where does that see it going if they have to add another access? Is that going to go to Osteen Cemetery Road? Because one thing I've not heard mentioned yet is that the majority of Osteen Cemetery Road is private. It's owned by the citizens. I have the largest piece of that road. So we own the property across the street from this proposed and all the way up to almost the end of Osteen Cemetery Road, which brings me to my next set of concerns. Are they going to put a wall up around that property to wall off Osteen Cemetery Road? Because from Phase 1 and Phase 2, we're already fighting lots of trash on our property, trespassers coming from that Phase 1 and Phase 2. We've run them off several times. They're out there with our animals. They're in our lakes fishing out there on my private property. So I would propose that if they're going to go through with this, they at least have to put up a wall along the whole entirety of Osteen Cemetery Road for this property. Also, the emergency services road, are they going to put up some sort of crash gate there? And the other property, they have a gate, but it's just a gate that can be opened, so the residents are going in and out of it. And that's where some of this trespassing and stuff is coming from. I would propose that hopefully they would put a crash gate up, not just a gate that you could open and walk through. And I would like to see them do that on Phase 1 and Phase 2, go back and retroactively do that. The other problem we've had is they proposed here that all stormwater is going to be kept on property. However, they said the same thing for Phase 1 and Phase 2, and we've seen a huge uptick in stormwater runoff and flood on our property due to that development. So I don't know how they're going to say they're going to be able to keep all that water off with all this development there. And then the other concern I have is, while in this proposal, they make mention a lot of how they're only going to be 2.32 residents per acre, but really R1, the zone that they're asking to go to supports up to 6 residents per acre. And what's to stop them after they get this zoning to go ahead and start developing that way? Because this is just saying, yeah, we'll change the zone. Then they can make that 6 homes per acre. So those are my concerns. I'd like to see something mentioned about that or done about these things. Thank you.
Mayor, that ends residents with standing.
All right, can we go to public participation, please?
Judith Castellini, please.
Hi, I live in the back of Phase 2, and my concern is the amenity ponds that they supposedly cleaned up. They are not cleaned up. There's a big pile of trash still there. And tonight, I got to listen to some car out there spinning around in the dirt, so it is not blocked off. I don't know how the car got in there. I just know I got to listen to it for over an hour. My husband's the one who cleaned up the original pile of trash, and 2 years ago they said they'd pick it up. It's still there. It's still there after they cleaned up last week. I have pictures. I have a question on, I just wonder where the postal center is going to be in that new development. And I would also like to mention that on Fernanda Drive, I don't know how a fire truck's going to get up through there. People just park willy-nilly. A couple months ago, the garbage truck couldn't get through. So you know a fire truck's not going to get through. And that's all I have.
Kathy Bryan, please.
Kathy Bryan, Deltona. You know, when you buy something, especially when you're buying an investment, there's always a risk involved. In this case, the risk is, you know, maybe you don't get the rezoning. And where we are right now, I don't think you have to, you're not obligated to change the zoning. I realize and I appreciate that they reduced the housing from 6 development units per acre down to 2.3, but with everything I hear, this is still too much when it comes to safety. And then you put a wall up and you're really talking about safety when you have an emergency and people need to get in and out. That's not good. The other thing is as far as density is concerned, you're right. I walk through my neighborhood and there's anywhere from 2, which is the exception, up to 6, 7 cars. And a lot of households nowadays, it's not just like a couple and they're moving in with their kids. It's a family moving in where you've got extended family. I have that in my neighborhood. You've got mom, dad, kids, grandma, uncle, cousins. So the impact on the road is not like 1 or 2 cars per the houses they're going to build, right? The other thing is stormwater. It will be stored on site. Can you guarantee that? How much do you have to raise the ground level up now? Because what happens, they go, yes, we're going to store it on site. They raise up the ground level and the water, especially when we have rains, and never mind the 100-year floodplain and so on and so forth. There's no guarantees. You never know how much water you're going to get. You get all that water and where does it go? To the other people, right? We see that over and over again. Where we are right now with our infrastructure, our stormwater drainage, et cetera, I'm hoping that you guys will say no. The other thing is you go in there, and is there anything to prevent the construction folks from clear cutting the lot as they go in? I know it's cheaper to just clear cut. But you take out all those trees and everything, and during the construction process, where's your water going? I know you build retention, but it slides off that dirt, slides off the sand, et cetera. You know, and that's one of the things I like to see with the land stuff that we're doing is to look at leaving more vegetation. Do we have any guarantee that we can encourage them to use native landscaping that once established doesn't need sprinkling, lawns that don't need constant sprinkling? You guys may laugh and think, you know, she's crazy environmentalist person, but if we don't start doing something for our water, we're not going to have any, and that's going to be the concern of expense. Thank you.
Randy White, please.
Randy White, Deltona. I'm a little all over the place, so I'm going to start with the background and go through. So the first thing I noticed is it talks about that these are larger lots than previous phases. Although that is true, and I appreciate that I'm not seeing the word RPUD, the fact is this is still triple what that property was actually zoned to hold. And as we talked about the Mackle brothers earlier and what their intention for the city was, there's a reason that they had certain sections zoned agricultural, right? There wasn't many, but they set them aside for a reason, and that is to protect the wetlands and a further buffer for that problem, right, in stormwater. Unfortunately, some dais in the past had rezoned the original 2 phases, which should have never occurred. And we saw a lot of problems that came from that. I would like to see us not repeat what we have seen has hurt us in the past and learn from it this time. I'd like to know how many ag areas do we have left in Deltona? Most of them have been rezoned. I believe, I'm going to go for a shot here, but I believe there's less than 5 left. The reason that there was ag zones was also for 2 reasons. Diversity, as we heard, that was their main goal for Deltona. And also to keep those important wetland areas less dense, right? If you were to approve this, I'm assuming you're going to also have to contact our consultant that we're paying a pretty penny for on the Teresa Basin study and let them know of this change, because that's going to change everything they're studying right now. So that's also another concern. As we talked about before, and I remember from previous meetings, there was multiple issues with the first two phases that were not addressed until, surprise, they wanted to come back here and they knew that it would be brought up. That's a concern for me, that's a concern for residents as well, and I think that in terms of the water staying on site, let's ask Hampton Oaks, Twin Lakes, Vineland Reserve, Osprey Reserve, how are they doing with that? How did that work out for them? Because it didn't. It's not staying on site at all. It's flooding everybody else around them. So yeah, I mean, they're high and dry, but everybody else is flooded. So these are some real concerns I hope you guys are taking into place. Moving on in this, I can't help but see that it says they want single-family residential. So we're talking 100 families, but yet 27 students? Math isn't mathing, okay? Been down this road before with you guys with numbers. Call it the piss poor Common Core formula if you want to. I don't know what the problem is, but that can't be accurate. That's not possible. I would actually like to see the formulas used to calculate that actually, because formula is the right thing. And I would also like to point out that although, once again, we're being told there's capacity, apparently every development we did around the schools being moved around, also we're told that they had room, but clearly they didn't, because surprise, we're moving students. So these are things I think that we all need to take into consideration and learn from past mistakes. They have every right to build on the property. As agricultural, we need more 1-acre lots in Deltona. There are not enough. There's a lot of residents that want larger acre lots, and you still get a pretty penny for the land that you're selling. So I think planning and zoning had this right, and it should be denied. Thank you.
Tara D'Erico?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Tara D'Erico, Deltona. I'll try to go quick and read my jumbled notes. So change often starts with coming together and taking a stand. Tonight is that opportunity. I've talked to every single one of you up there, and you all have told me the same thing. We need to pause on development. We need to stop with our rezonings. Tonight's your opportunity to do that, your chance to do that. This has come up for years. This has been the lingering development in Deltona for years, and there's a history of correcting issues when a new opportunity for approval comes up, right? How many times has it come up and like, oh, this wasn't done, that wasn't done, this wasn't done. And it's, oh, well, now we'll fix it because we need you to give us another yes. So I would encourage all of you to think about the history. What's going to happen when there's no other approvals that need to come up? Is that last development standing going to be the one that's left holding all the bleep for all the others because they have nothing else now to hold over our heads to clean up all their mistakes? A lot of the other issues that have come up, because there have been more than one, are, and I'm really glad to hear the mayor brought up the pool, because that is a concern that's been expressed by many of the residents multiple times. The current amenities are already overcrowded. Now you're going to bring in another 100+ people, families, and expect them now to all crowd together in that one pool. There's also a concern with guest and visitor parking. It's my understanding there are minimal visitor parking spots, and there is a concern, because it's already happening, that visitors and even guests are parking on the streets. And we heard the young lady bring up earlier, there was a recent incident where the garbage truck couldn't get by, and this has been brought up before, that there's a concern that emergency vehicles will not be able to get through the streets. And I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, so I do want to be transparent about that, but I will go back and watch the previous meeting. But I believe it was asked at that time that perhaps we get some consultation from emergency services. Doesn't sound like that has happened yet. I also believe that I heard tonight that the emergency vehicle access is a concept only, and it's 20 feet wide, but that we haven't had our emergency services out to give their expert assessment to confirm that this is adequate. That just doesn't seem right to me. I get it's a concept, but if you're intending to come and ask for approval for something that does not be approved, would you not want to put your best foot forward, and would you not want to show good faith and come with everything built out to anticipate the questions that you're all going to ask? Another thing is, I heard that this is a concept multiple times, that it could change. I heard that multiple times. So if it's approved and then it changes, does it come back to you all for approval? Because again, in talking to all of you individually, there's been a concern that we've been burned by that before. We approve a rezoning for one intent, but as the gentleman earlier said, once that rezoning is approved, how can you now contain it? What's stopping anybody from now building up to the maximum that that rezoning allows? So I would be concerned about that, is if it changes, does it come back up to this commission for approval? Once again, I will close with, this is an opportunity to say no, and I encourage you all to take it. Thank you.
Albert Bryan, please.
Oh, me, oh my, where do I start? You know, I was here for the last reading of this. It's amazing. This little diagram they got on here for the last reading actually shows a big wetland area right in the center of it. It's funny that this time it doesn't when they showed some land being shoved in there. How do you do that and say you're not running over my wetlands? I've been doing this for a long time, and every time something like this comes up and it has my wetlands in it, I get concerned, especially when you're actually filling in part of the wetlands. That doesn't make any sense. The wetlands is a way for things to get cleaned, way for the actual hydraulics to start, for water percolating down. By filling it in, you're not doing that anymore, are you? So it makes me kind of wonder the thinking on this. Now, there was a quote a couple of years ago by the then manager when we had a moratorium come up, that he said that R1 is basically a free-for-all because it came from the county. There should be 3 different designations, 1 to 2 houses, 2 to 3 houses, 3 to 4, so forth, so on. In Deltona, it's still according to what the county did. What is that? Oh, that's 1 to 6 houses on an acre if you're at R1. So there's nothing, once you do this tonight, there's nothing for those people in the back that want this to say, oh, let's put 6 houses per acre. We got an R1 now. We can do whatever the hell we want to do. Now, the question is really, when they're building this, what are they going to do to protect those wetlands? Are they going to put a big plastic dome over it to protect all the dust from going in there and all the other critters and everything else that are going to run to it because now they're running big equipment and stuff in there? No, that's not what's going to happen. They're going to put one of those little 2-foot barriers going to run around it. You know what that actually does? Oh, that's right, it doesn't do anything. The only thing it does is keep some water and some debris from trash from floating in there. That's all it does. Now, we've already heard, and they admitted that it took them 2 years to clean up behind the last 2 developments. So if they already have a bad record of cleanup, what do you think this record's going to be now? They're going to have a lot of construction crapola running around after this. You know as well as I do that construction workers eat. And what happens when they eat? Oh, it gets thrown in the back of the truck. What happens when they leave? Oh, that's right. That stuff flies out of the back of the truck, right on that freaking dirt road or any other area in that area. The other concern I still have about this is the fact that one way in, one way out. They can say all they want, that that little dirt road can accommodate a fire engine. But everybody knows that Deltona already has problems with their fire engines. We've bought one almost yearly for the last 4 or 5 years. Why is that? Oh, that's right, because they put a lot of miles on them, don't they? You think going across the dirt road is going to help him at all? No, it's not.
Louis Leal.
Good evening, Commission. My concern is the road. I don't live there. I've been on the Osteen Cemetery Road. It's a dirt road. I have I'm a volunteer fireman. I'm also been a structural specialist on collapsed buildings. I have designed roads, fire roads for Volusia County and Orange City, and I can tell you that 20 feet is not enough. It should be wider. I'm not going to tell you how much wide, but it depends on where the fire hydrant is. Because if they don't locate where they're going to put the fire hydrant, once the fire trucks puts the outriggers out, now you're adding 5 feet to the truck. So the fire roads have to have two-way traffic, not one-way traffic. People coming in, people coming out. So I suggest that you should table this and talk to Deltona Fire Department, Volusia County Fire Department, ask for their standards, ask for their specs. The fire trucks weigh about 1 million pounds. The soil, if you don't do a soil test to see the capacity, you might have that truck sink, and you're gonna have to get a bulldozer to pull it out. So seriously, you should consult with Deltona Fire Department and Volusia County Fire Department before you make a decision. That's my recommendation as an engineer. Good night, good evening.
Mayor, that closes public comments.
Okay. Do we have any rebuttal from the applicant? And then we'll end with the commissioners up here. I know Vice Mayor Jody Lee's on the board again.
Good evening. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to rebut again. Jesse Anderson, Post and Bennett, 2022, East Livingston, Orlando, Florida. Just for the first portion that I want to start with is the stub out. Again, the stub out to the south is for future connectivity per the land development code. And again, this is not a plan that has been fully vetted to the standards of a subdivision yet. This is only a rezoning case. We have not gone through the preliminary subdivision plan phase. We have not gone through a subdivision construction plan phase. We are only at rezoning tonight. And with that, this is conceptual. However, there are elements of this that would be able to maintain themselves if the council, or if the commission were to want to adhere conditions such as substantial conformance to the concept plan. So with that, it would still allow staff to maintain an ability to continue to review this project in concert with the code, make sure it is code compliant in every single way going forward, while also maintaining many of the characteristics that have been seen tonight, rather than appearing to be a bait and switch with rezoning. So we are very much comfortable with our concept plan and what is going forward tonight with our request, that we would be very much okay with that. In regard to aspects such as the wall surrounding the property, especially with the emergency access portion, that would create a safety hazard. So therefore, this would be a community with a privacy gate around it, with an electronic gate for access, again, by emergency personnel who would have that code to it, and only them to have that code. So residents would not have that code to go through that gate the other way. It would not be two-way traffic or anything like that. So going back to the paved access, it is currently a 30-foot wide paved access. That strip that's going through the property is, as of now, only listed as 20 feet, but again, is conceptual, and we would be working with your fire departments, your police departments, your emergency responders, and so forth during the subdivision construction plan phase, when they are active reviewers, and they will be able to have their influence on this project and put their comments forward to maintain consistency with the code and what is in line with all of the necessary requirements that they will have going forward for any emergency access. Amenities for the overall ponds, stormwater on the site. So just to be clear, this change that is in the central portion of these two concept plans is a stormwater pond. It is not wetlands. The wetlands are over to the east, and they're denoted by hatch marks. The original concept plan, which this is the previous, this did denote some impact to the wetlands. As you can see here, we are actually projecting no impact to the wetlands by the houses that are on this concept plan, and we are maintaining that entire eastern portion that you can see on this plan as wetlands. So we are not touching it in perpetuity. That will maintain a wetland area without impacts. In regard to approvals, there is something to make sure everyone is aware of. Of course, this is the zoning, so it would come back as a preliminary subdivision plan if it did receive approval. However, again, that is a different type and level of case, so you'd have certain elements that you'd be reviewing for that are different than your zoning, of course. And same thing with any future case that it might come before you with, such as a final plat. So there are going to be nuances to it if it did receive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to go to Vice Mayor Jody Lee, and then we're going to go for, then I'll entertain a motion in a second.
I just got two quick ones. Oh, come on, Ms. Lee. Go ahead.
Just a couple of things I wanted to clarify, thank you. With respect to that northeastern portion of the property, Commissioner McCool, over the last couple of meetings that we've had regarding this area, it is a tree preservation area. So as you all know, this is a nursery. There are a few trees on this site. We are also preserving, which is why the pond looks the way it does. We're not just throwing land in, we are preserving some historic trees in those areas. So again, in the northeast corner, which you can't see on this one, but in the old plan, because we're not touching it, we're not showing it in the plan here. But that green area in the northeast is all preserved trees and wetlands. And again, the center is also of the pond is preserved wetlands. And I want to make sure.
Okay, just like me.
And that's pretty, I think he has addressed everything else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Just one of the questions I had, that stub out road, wasn't that originally over in the southeast corner on the last trucks can get through there? Because the rules that are in the HOA in 1 and 2, you don't enforce them. So how would you enforce on phase 3?
That is a great question.
I know, you can't answer it.
No, I actually do have a good answer for you. Not to yours, but to some people's dismay, this is, again, a little bit of a different case than the 2 northern phases. So this, because it's straight zoning, it actually has different types of parking requirements associated with it that have to be compliant by its subdivision standards. So for instance, and I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 4 parking spaces, 4.5 parking spaces per unit, 4.5 parking spaces per unit. Those would be 2 in the garage, 2 in the driveway, half on the road. We would have to make sure that the roadway is wide enough to incorporate those half spaces on the parking road, make sure there are 2-space garages and driveways with 2 spaces.
But in phase 1 and 2 that they have to drive through to get to phase 3, they can't get through there with a fire truck because nobody enforces the rules that you have in 1 and 2. That's what I'm getting at. You might make it bigger there, but if you don't enforce the rules in 1 and 2, what makes anybody up here thinks you're going to enforce the rules in phase 3?
So I will let the HOA portion be designated here, but zoning-wise, it'll be parking throughout the complex.
With respect to enforcement by the HOA, these are public streets, and therefore there'd have to be some delegation to the HOA to enforce your public streets. So,
who's in charge right now? You sure?
In charge of your public streets or the HOA? Starlight Homes controls the HOA.
So if you've been in control of it, that means you haven't been pushing the rules for 1 and 2 so far.
For clarification, this is because, again, this is a PUD versus straight zoning. These are public roads in this specific zoning district, whereas the PUD did not necessarily have to have originally public roads. They would be dedicated later on.
Commissioner McCool, and then we'll go to a vote.
I'm good, Mr. Mayor.
You're good? Can I entertain a motion from someone on the dais? Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the ordinance number 08-2024 at first hearing, amending the zoning map to rezone 2 parcels totaling 43.55 acres of land located south of Fernanda Drive and east of Pine Ridge High School, currently zoned City of Deltona agriculture classification to single-family classification R1.
There's a motion by Vice Mayor Jody Lee and a second by Commissioner Harriet. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, the Vice Mayor basically read it, but I'll just kind of didn't complete the end. The other thing is, I would ask that each of you, as you vote, give your reasons for your vote. Since, this is a request, and we need to have some connection to comp plan code as to why you're making the vote you're making. So ordinance number 08-2024, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending the official zoning map to rezone 2 parcels totaling plus or minus 43.55 acres of land located south of Fernanda Drive and east of Pine Ridge High School, currently zoned the City of Deltona agricultural classification A to single-family classification R1, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Could you please do a roll call?
Commissioner Villa Vasquez?
I vote yes to deny. My reasoning is still the same as it was a few years ago, is the safety of entrance and exit to the development. I still don't feel the emergency exit that's being developed is considered or looks like or will be emergency. Thank you.
Commissioner Caldwell?
I also vote yes to deny, based on the same reasons. I don't think the traffic can accommodate the people coming in and out of there for safety reasons.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes to deny, safety concerns and incompatibility with the comp plan.
Commissioner McCool?
I vote yes to deny, and Joyce, I have a copy, so don't freak out, okay? Based on the fact that it does not meet objective H1-3 in our comprehensive plan, based on the fact that it does not meet policy H1 3.3, 1.35 through 1.37, based on the fact that it does not meet objective F, G, I, and J, based on the fact that it does not meet policy FLU 1-1.2, A, B, and C, based on the fact that it does not meet FLU 1, 7.7 and 7.8, FLU 1-2.2 and FLU 1-2.3, FLU 1-1.4, 1.6, nor 7.3. Most concerning that it does not meet Policy Con 2 WR 2.3, Policy Con 2 W 3.4, Policy Con WR 4, Goal Con 1, and Policy Con 1 WR 1.2. These are on record. Those are my reasons for denying, and my confidence and follow-through is almost nil.
Commissioner Shimkus?
I vote yes. It does not meet the comp plan, several elements of it, including the transportation, the infrastructure, the conservation, and the parks and recreation, as well as others.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
I vote yes to deny for safety reasons and everything Commissioner McCool said.
Mayor Villa?
I vote yes to deny for the same reasons. It does not meet our comp plans. I have issues with safety, including the safety of our wetlands.
Vote is 7-0 to deny.
All right, I believe at this time our city attorney is going to be excused, correct?
Yes.
She has a family emergency, so we're going to go ahead and go to public hearing, excuse me. Resolution number 2024-19, granting a variance to allow a 6-foot wooden fence in the side street yard location on the property at 402 Valley Terrace within the R1 single-family zoning classification. Jessica. Sure. All right, Jessica, go ahead.
All right, good evening again, Jessica and Social Planner 2. For the record, resolution number 2024-19 is for a variance at 402 Bali Terrace. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow a 6-foot fence in the side street yard, although the fence permit was permitted for a 5-foot fence in the side street yard. This is the background for the fence. It's had a code violation, it's had 2 extensions, as well as it had a fence permit in April. The fence permit was for a remove and reinstall. This is a picture of the survey that was with the building permit, or fence permit. The pink depicts the 5-foot fence and the yellow depicts the 6-foot fence. This is an aerial of 2006 versus 2024. This shows that the footprint has changed. The matters of consideration. The property is a corner lot, which is not unusual in Deltona, as there are many lots that have to abide by the same rule. There are no special conditions or circumstances since the applicant did not follow the permit that was approved. The city updated the land development code for fences, which gives more flexibility in allowing 5-foot fences on the property line of side street yards. This was not allowed before December. Staff believes the property is not being prohibited from reasonable use, as all properties in the city are required to follow the land development code. And based on decision-making criteria for the submittal, staff finds valid reason to object to the variance to allow the current 6-foot wooden fence to remain in its current condition at 402 Bali Terrace. And are there any questions?
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Jessica, can you go back to that picture of the fence? So the 6-foot fence is blocking any view from anybody? I'm just saying, I mean, I know the ordinance because we talked about not putting it up if you're on a corner lot, you're blocking a view. Which part of that 6-foot fence is blocking any view for any traffic besides giving the somebody, man, woman, whoever it is, privacy in their own yard? That's all I'm asking.
I do not see it blocking any view.
So, and it's not causing a hazard?
Correct, from what I can see.
Is the person here?
20 feet from your property line to have even 5 or 6 feet. So that's where it's changed.
How often do we grant variances to allow 6-foot fences on side streets, corner lots?
We normally do not allow variances for that because it's not a hardship. Variances are meant for hardships.
Now, the million-dollar question, do we know the intent of why 5-foot fences were originally the only height that was approved?
No, sir, I do not.
Get it, Monday.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Jessica, I know that you said there is no obstacles with the fence. Just out of curiosity, when I'm making a right on that corner, does that fence interfere? Like,
nope.
It seems like it goes straight and then it goes in. So does the straight part interfere with the view of a driver that's going to be on that road to make a right? I mean, I can't see it from here, but I don't know what it looks like in person.
Yeah, I do not believe it would cause any issues like that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner McCool.
Are there fines still accrued?
I would have to get with code with that. I would have to ask.
Code's here. Do they have an answer? No?
Sorry.
Yeah, because that's the reason I'm asking too. When we're the stop here at the intersection, you can see the pedestrian line or the stop line is right there lined up with the fence. I just need to find out if it impairs the vision turning off of that road, because it looks like if you go to the end of that street that you can see, but you have to pull up over what is by law the place where you stop. So I need to understand that. there are a lot of variables to me here. They broke whatever, but then I'm like, I want a 6-foot fence. I've got a 6-foot fence around my yard, so I'm just trying to understand. I understand why we do it, but we also have some janky corners, different, I should say different. I didn't mean to say that. But
their permit would have not required a fee, right?
It depends on how much of the fence was knocked down, but correct, normally we do not charge any fees during the hurricanes.
Okay, because I'm assuming maybe that's where the miscommunication was. It's a shame he's not here or she is not here, so we can figure that part out. But I also see that in the new aerial view, the fence got actually pushed back towards the corner of the house. So if anything, that actually gives more of a clearer view to the road, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, based on the picture, the only place that they would turn would be towards where that house is at. And if you're turning right, even if you're stopped on that very legally, like the legal stop corner, I mean, there's nothing obstructing the view. Probably the shadow of the tree would give you more of an issue. But I mean, I'll go. Wow. I got all the commissioners up again. Commissioner Colwell, if it was up to me, I mean, I don't have an issue with it. Maybe give the resident a fine or something, just so in the future, we just can't reward people with bad behavior. But I think this is kind of silly. But Commissioner Colwell, then Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you, Mayor. In the 2024 aerial, is that a structure that's built in the back corner there?
Concrete. In the corner?
In the 2024 aerial, it looks like there's a boat or something sitting on there?
It looks like it's just a speedboat on probably concrete.
Does that need to be permitted?
It would. I do not know if that one has a permit.
And is that in the easement? Was a special variance given for that? It's concrete. It looks like concrete to me.
Can we find out if there's any outstanding fees or fines on this property for this issue? And then if there aren't, then what would, according to code, what would the fine be if we granted the variance? Would it be the double cost of the permit?
If I can also make a suggestion while Mr. Ron's coming up and before the other commissioners speak, we can also table this till we get all those questions that we have answered, and maybe request that the person that's requesting this be here at the next meeting. So go ahead, Danny Ron, and then we'll
Danny Rock, compliance. Yes, there is, like if there was work done and they try to apply for a permit, after they've done the work, there is a double fee on the permit application. Just that maybe if we would have had, let's say the 2024 aerial photo, if there's a house just north of that property and the driveway is on that road, it might be a vision triangle for the people trying to, pull out from their driveway. I mean, right now we see it at the stop sign intersection, which is not a big deal. The reason we have these rules, just in case we have those situations, But unfortunately, I can't tell if there's a house just north of this, if the driveway is on that side of the fence. And on the 2006 aerial, it looks like the property might be a little bit longer, but on the 24, they might have not put that fence on the property lines. There's a lot of things I don't have the information.
Those houses are back to back.
It's hard from the photos to determine that. I have Renee running to get that information if there's any fines at that property now.
Who's the district commissioner?
The city website. The district wizard. Are you done, Commissioner Harriet? Yeah. Commissioner McCool, then Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
What you said, first of all, the resident's not here for us to ask these questions. I have, a couple of questions now regarding the pad, the setback. Did they get a permit for that? Is this a pattern of just not bothering with permits? Do you know what I'm saying? I just really need to ask them that, because for me, I understand that each corner lot is different. I understand we have it for safety issues, but there's a lot going on here. And I'm with the mayor regarding just tabling this until the resident actually comes back and we can ask these questions. There certainly should be a fine, you know, for this. I mean, come and talk to us about this. It's in front of us, so be here. So that's where I'm at with that, Mr. Mayor. What? I'm good.
You're good? Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
I understand what our commissioners, everybody said table it, and Mayor, you said table it. If there's a fine, I just assume let the city manager handle it and be done with it and not come back here and waste another hour worth of time. This man, you can clearly see he's been upgrading his house, got a brand new fence, he's put solar panels on his house. We're going after somebody that's spending money on their house, but we have stuff in the city that's falling totally apart. People's yards look like garbage, and we're busting someone's chops that spent the money to put a new fence up. I understand the rules are the rules, but if he's got a fine, then deal with it and be done with it.
So you can always make a motion to let the city manager deal with it?
I said, I'll make a motion to let the city manager deal with this, give him the fines that are appropriate, let him have his fence, he's not blocking no views, and be done with it.
Second.
There is a motion by Vice Mayor Jody Lee, a second by Commissioner Harriet. Is there any public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. Can we please vote?
I'm not voting for that. It makes too much sense.
Motion passes 6-1 with Commissioner Caldwell against.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to public hearing resolution number 2024-25, granting a conditional use to permit an automobile service station type A with the retail commercial district C1 for a property located at 625 Howland Boulevard within the city of Deltona, providing conditions, conflict severability, and an effective date. Planning and zoning.
Good evening. Good evening, City Commission. Jonathan Knight, Planner 1 for the record. Resolution 2024-25, like the mayor said, is for the application requesting the conditional use of C1 property within the city of Deltona. So the subject property is located on the southeastern section of the city at 625 Howland Boulevard. The parcel is 0.78 acres and is currently undeveloped. The applicant, Avid Group, is requesting the permission to construct a 3-bay Strickland Brothers quick oil change facility. Quick service oil change facilities are considered automotive service station type A per City of Deltona Land Development Code. These require a conditional use approval within the C1 retail commercial district. Within this conditional use request, the applicant is requesting a reduction in stacking positions as well as a reduced number of parking, with the intent of reducing underutilized asphalt and concrete. The 0.78 acres of land is comprised of 4 adjacent parcels of record. These will have to be legally combined upon approval of the conditional use. The parcels are located within the C1 commercial retail district, and they're scheduled to remain commercial within the future land use map. This project is at the corner of a major intersection and it butts other commercial properties to the north, east, and west, and it has residential to the west, excuse me. So this is a picture of the conceptual plan.
Jonathan, just for clarification, that's Cortland Boulevard and Howland, correct?
No, sir, Fort Smith.
Fort Smith, sorry, I meant to say Fort Smith.
Yes. Okay, so conditional uses have 7 matters of consideration, 11, excuse me. They are reviewed to consider the proposed use's feasibility. These include consistency with zoning, comprehensive plan, and future land use. Highlights from this review include the following. The site is zoned C1, which allows for automobile service station type A with conditional use. The future land use is also commercial, which means the development is in alignment with the comprehensive plan and the future land use. The site will provide services that are not currently available within the city, and the proposed use will not generate undue traffic congestion and will encourage residents to service their vehicles locally. Sorry, the slides got mixed up a little bit. This slide is depicting the conceptual plan, which will go under further review upon final site plan submittal. This site can be accessed with a right-in, right-out ingress, egress on both Fort Smith as well as Howland Boulevards. After review, staff recommends that the City Commission approve Resolution Number 2024-25, which will grant a conditional use for the automobile service station Type A to be allowed at 625 Howland Boulevard, with the following conditions. A combination of lots application is required and to combine lots 15, 16, 17, and 18, and then a final site plan application is required to go under review by the DRC. Do I have any questions?
Vice Mayor Jody Lee, then Commissioner Vila Vasquez.
If anybody doesn't know where this is, they're thinking about it, it's on the corner of, it's right across the street from Duncan Development's going to come. I'm sorry, I just got to say we should take it.
Commissioner Vila Vasquez, then Commissioner McCool, and then I'll go after Commissioner McCool.
Thank you. I have a clarification. Isn't that District 2, isn't that near the Deltona High School?
No, ma'am. It is near Pine Ridge High School.
Oh, okay. I'm getting confused with all the Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner McCool?
Yeah, did this go through P&Z? I didn't see, I know that, what was P&Z's recommendation?
It was 6 to 1 or 5 to 1, I forget the.
Okay, all right. And I wanted to ask a question here. I'm good. I saw that they offset for the stacking. I don't have a problem with that. They offset the building for the stacking. That's good for me. How are they going to protect the alley? Because I'm going to tell you, the alley behind in my district where Tivoli goes over behind Ace and stuff, it's a hot mess back there. So I need to understand about ingress and egress back there, employee parking and that kind of thing. How are we protecting that alley back there?
Yes, ma'am. I will defer that one to the applicant.
I'm sorry?
I will defer that
Is the
question.
applicant here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that would be amazing to hear. That's my only concern, not really concern, I just want to hear the plan.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I'm good if we can get that answered.
If the applicant can come, because my questions are literally for the applicant as well, so.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Evan Futch with Avid Group, located at 1337 South International Parkway over in Lake Mary, Florida. And to answer your question, McCool, we are not doing any type of connection to that alleyway. Our driveway has been separated from that alleyway because it wasn't constructed to have this commercial traffic on it. And we're also putting in a code-required buffer, so there will be trees there as well to discourage any type of movement across there. Additionally, the parking that we're providing will be more than adequate for the level of employees that will be there. The employees is usually a supervisor and 3 techs, which is obviously 4 parking spaces, but we're providing 7 just in case there's a heavy load or a random person tries to park and come in, which is not what the intention is. It's a drive-through only type of service. I'm sure you've all seen how those services function. Is there any other questions?
No, that's it. And I want to thank you for a good plan. It's a good plan. I did look at it. Again, offsetting the building, thank you. The stacking, thank you. From my point of view, welcome to Deltona. Thank you for investing in Deltona. We encourage more commercial growth like this, good, well thought out commercial growth. So thank you again for investing in Deltona.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm good.
I have a quick, Jonathan, can you please put up the picture of the design really quick? I just have a simple question.
Yeah, I don't want to touch it.
All right, so at any given time, how many employees are you going to have?
At any given time, it's usually 4. It's the 1 supervisor and 3 techs.
Okay, because you have how many parking spaces? 7 parking spaces?
7, that's correct.
Okay.
Code required 9, so that's why we were asking for 2 reduction. 7 is still more than what we have on many other projects, but, you know, give or take a little bit, there was a little bit of concern about parking previously with planning and zoning, and I addressed that.
That's why I was asking, because I believe during the P&Z meeting, there was only 6 parking spaces, correct?
No, there's always been 7. There's the 6 in the back, and then there's the handicap space up front, near closest to the building.
Okay, that's all I have. Commissioner Shimkus?
Can you walk me through the stacking pattern that's going to be here? Because the reduction of stacking from 4 to 1 and those 2 entrances, how are you planning on ensuring that we're not going to end up with an issue of stacking into any of those 2 roadways?
Oh, well, traditionally, for this type of use, with it being a 10-minute oil change, stacking is rather quick, and if you look at trip generation, the trip generation is really low. Even at a peak hour, you're looking at 15. So taking that into consideration and adding an additional few minutes on for transaction purposes within the bay, you ultimately come down to being able to move enough cars to where you actually only need one stacking space outside the bay. Working with staff, of course, staff was concerned like you are, and we had spoke about different options. We could move the building up. We could add another stacking instead of having the stacking space on the front side. It'd be more purposeful on the back side. So while your code requires 4 stacking spaces, keeping in mind that it's generalized with this type of use with a Type A service station, it's lumping a lot of different uses in one. This particular use, the amount of traffic that's coming in, it's going to be able to handle it and actually have too much stacking space with the way it's set compared to how the stacking analysis shows in the report that was provided.
Okay, I was more concerned with, you have 2 entrances, and if you have 3 people stacking in from the bottom and more coming in from the left, how do you manage where they're coming in from and not having, you know, kind of overlapping stacking?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So basically, I don't want to say it's free for all, but it's when they come in through the south, ideally they're going to take that first lane or the middle lane. The ones coming in from the north are going to be taking the northern lane. I mean, it's going to be options. All 3 bays are open. It's going to be options there for them to maneuver in. And plus, the property is really tight, so we're limited on how we can make that flow work any other way.
All right, is there any public comment?
No, sir.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee, you're on the board again.
Sorry. Thank you. But right in front of that, if anybody doesn't realize, on Highland Boulevard right there is an island right there in the road too. So somebody's not going to be going north and trying to cut over the island to get in there. There's an island. And I get the egress and regress coming into the Highland Boulevard. I heard people were saying there should be a turning lane. Well, if that's the case, then you should go back all the way down Highland Boulevard and put a turning lane at everybody's house all the way up, because it's the same thing. You're not going to get, you're not going to get a McDonald's traffic in a oil change place. I'm sorry, you're not. And if you do, you're one lucky man. But both ways, I think it's a good idea. It's a good spot. I mean, nothing else is going to come there but a dollar store. So, and we all know how much we all like dollar stores. I'd like to make a motion to approve. Why don't we make a motion to approve resolution number 20-24-25, granting a conditional use for the permanent automobile service station Type A within the retail commercial district for 625 Highland Boulevard.
Second.
There is a motion by Vice Mayor Jody Lee, second by Commissioner McCool. Can we please vote?
Motion passed 6-1 with Commissioner Shimkus against.
All right, at this time, we're going to go ahead and, thank you, sir. Welcome to the city of Deltona. Old business, request for approval of commission policy number CC24-001, city proclamation policy. City manager, Doc.
Yep, thank you, Mayor.
I'm still struggling with your last name. I'm so sorry.
Doherty.
I'll get there, I promise.
Yep, so the last commission meeting, the commission requested some type of policy to be brought forward. In front of you is a policy that includes 4 types of recognition: proclamations, letters of recognition, the key to the city, and special certificates. So proclamations, the request and the policy is that when a request comes through, it will be put on the consent agenda for the commission to consider, at which time, if it passes, that group will receive proclamation, a certificate, or depending on what the request is, will be actually sent directly to that organization, or the organization could pick it up. If there's a special proclamation that the commission would agree to and vote on to actually have it given out at the next commission meeting, it would be done so at that time. So instead of meeting after meeting of having 5, 6, many proclamations, this will actually streamline the process that people are still recognized, but just not at every single meeting unless it's requested by the commission to have that group come to the next meeting. The second group is letters of recognition. This is something that each commissioner and the mayor themselves could give out to their local organizations. A request comes in from maybe just a little league, maybe someone had a great game pitching or so in your territory, or anywhere in the city. We can have just a special letter from you personally towards that person or that organization. Again, not something that's done at the actual commission meeting. Third piece is the key to the city. That would still be under the mayor's direction, where he's able to give that out. Of course, rare special circumstances, of course, for the key to the city, that would be a mayor situation. And then special certificates, we're going to be setting up a web page, assuming that you're pleased with this, where it would be including anything, birthdays, holidays, and things that affect people's lives, such as birthday greetings for people 75, 80, 85 and above. Birthdays of child's first birthday could put in their memory box a letter from the council or commission. Weddings, anniversaries, 25th, 50, and then every 5 years after that. Eagle Scouts, Billy Mitchell Award, Girl Scouts Gold Awards, things like that, actually on a web page where people can put their information in, choose mayor, vice mayor, or any commissioner who they'd like it to come from, and then they would receive that delivered to their house, or they could pick it up also. So this policy has, like I said, 4 different areas of recognition: proclamations, letter of recognition, the key to the city, and special certificates. And that is consideration before you.
Is there any public comment?
Kathy Bryan, please.
Good evening again, Kathy Bryan, Deltona. Seems like the last meeting brought a lot of interest in proclamations out. One of the things under proclamations, I think, is a lot of times people think, oh, it's when somebody's done a good job to recognize somebody, but I think one of the other things that we've always used it for is awareness. Whether the awareness be, for instance, tonight, PTSD, whether the awareness be for our military veterans, when it was Military Veterans Month, or last month, whether it be traumatic brain injuries, whether it be the LGBT
Plus.
I knew I'd mess it up again. I have to look at it to say it. There's a lot of things like that. That's not the only thing. What they wanted was to say that we're in the city and we want to be included, and for people to think about us. So I do like the idea, if you guys want to vote on what gets a proclamation and not, fine. That's probably a better idea than one person deciding we need a proclamation and running away with it. But if you're doing this to try to exclude people because, you don't like the fact that there's some kind of you feel like there's a political motivation, or you feel like it's a sensitive area. Sometimes these sensitive areas, if you think about the past and all the things that are talked about nowadays that used to be sensitive subjects, teenage pregnancy, things like that are now out in the forefront because there's more education. There's more awareness about it. These are good things to proclamate. That's a word. So In other words, don't limit yourself to just things that nobody's going to argue about or anything like that. I think arguments are good. I think awareness is good. And I think having discussions, whichever way you feel is good, because then you learn something both ways. So that's what I wanted to say. I kind of saved it. I was going to talk about it in public forum and decided to save it for this. So everybody keep your minds open.
Elbert Bryan, please.
You know, I stood at this podium for 5 years asking for a proclamation because it always went through the commission. Always. It always has gone through the commission. Now you're taking that away and you're handing it over to staff and a manager. I have a problem with that. One, he's got enough to do. He's got a whole city he's got to take care of. You think he wants me in his office 12 times a month? I doubt it. Here's a problem I also have with it. This shows that it has definitions and they're undefined. It states political reasons. What is a political reason? I can give you 1,001 different political reasons. It's not a definition though, is it? I have so many problems with this proclamation, little resolution, whatever the hell you want to call this, that it's not even funny. One, because you're taking something away from the commission and giving it off to staff. I'm sorry, it was never meant to be there. It was meant for y'all to have a consensus and say, okay, we believe in this. But we ran away from that, and it seemed it went to 1 or 2 people. That's where the problem come in. What we need is for y'all to bring this forward, or for y'all to actually start listening to us here at the podium. One or the other. Because what we do here at the podium is ask for things. 9 times out of 10, it falls on deaf ears. And yes, I said it the way I meant it. Because not only is it deafening in here when we have to hear our own echo coming back off your foreheads, but it is literally, it seems like we're talking to the dead sometimes. The other thing that, without having any kind of real definition about any of the stuff that was put into this, I find it was poorly written, for one. Very poorly written. The other thing I have a problem with this is the fact that when you take and tell a resident that he has to go into this big building and see somebody, whether it's that gentleman right there or one of these nice staff people, we have to wait. I'm here every Monday night. Every single Monday night. I have more time logged in this room than any of y'all here, except for maybe Joyce. Why should I have to take time out of my work schedule to come up here and ask for something that I should be able to ask for right from here? And y'all take a consensus on it, either at that meeting or the next meeting or whenever. Now, granted, it took me 5 years for y'all to recognize indigenous people in November. It's amazing it took that long, because we were here first. Y'all came in afterwards. Maybe we should have put that big fence up a long time ago to keep all y'all Europeans out of here. All that being said, don't take this out of your hands. Learn to get along. Learn to actually take and say, okay, we can actually do this because citizens have concerns. That's the number one thing here. You're missing the whole charade of this. It's about the citizens, not you.
Mayor, that closes public comments.
Commissioner Shimkis and Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
to make a motion to approve this policy, and the reason for that is there's nothing in here that is removing any of this from any of us up here. There's no restriction being placed on anyone here. Any citizen, us included, or anyone out there can make a request for any proclamation they would like. So we're not losing anything on this. What we are doing is what the city has so desperately been asking for, yourself included, for a long time. We need policies, procedures. We need consistency. We need a method to do things. So this is what I believe is happening with this tonight. We're adding a policy that's going to allow us to function better, more efficiently, and more consistently. Anyone out there can make a request. We can make a request. That's not changing. So I don't think there's any detraction from this or from our ability to make this. So I make a motion to approve item 8A for the policy of CC 24-001.
Can I get a friendly amendment?
Sure.
Include in the policy under the process for proclamations, instead of only by writing, that it would include email.
It does say a request can be made, mailed, hand-delivered, or emailed. So I believe there's plenty of opportunity for that, yeah.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Shimkus to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Harriet. Before we vote, I want to go ahead and go to Commissioner Vila Vasquez and then Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. So I don't have a problem with this proclamation policy that was brought up, but I do want to request, before we approve this, that for those of us who didn't get a copy of the prior policy that was put together by Joyce, that we get a chance to see what it was. I heard very positive comments about it. I apologize I didn't request a copy before this meeting. It just came to my mind that there was something else that was brought to this dais and nobody got a chance to see it because it was denied by the mayor. So I would like to see that policy. This is my recommendation, my request. I would like to see that policy and compare it to this one, if it's...
Just for correction, Commissioner Vila Vasquez, that was actually brought up, and I didn't block it. I never said that we weren't going to share it. I believe Mr. Chisholm brought it up. You were here as well. And
No, I wasn't here. That's why I brought it up. I wasn't here.
All right, can I get, at your discretion, can you send the meeting minutes for that meeting to all the commissioners, please? So we have a motion, and then we have a second. Commissioner Harriet. Mike.
Thank you. To the point about being open and transparent, I think this actually gives us an opportunity to do that. It's not just a single point putting these proclamations. There's now a structure for multiple types of recognition, and not just that, it also gives each of us a voice in supporting the proclamations. And if we don't have a voice in supporting the proclamations, then how can we represent the residents? So that's why I'm supporting this.
All right, can we please vote, please?
Motion passes 7-0.
This time, we're going to go ahead and move to request for approval of Halifax Humane Society, Inc. Agreement for Animal Services. Mr. Danny Ron.
Good evening, Commission. Danny Ron, Co-Compliance. The City of Deltona has contracted with Halifax Humane Society for animal services since 1998. Staff is looking for approval for the contract extension, good through September 30th, 2024, and the annual agreement for 24-25 fiscal year, which will provide services for animal shelters, trap, neuter, return as needed, rabies quarantine, confiscating animals, dangerous dogs, and additional services for staff support and forensic cause veterinary support. Staff is requesting approval for these extension and the contract. Any questions?
Yep, right now I'm the only one on the board, so I have to ask a couple questions. How much money is given to code enforcement total for animal projects, TNR, services, animal services, all this?
When it comes to with impound fees, this is $73,000.
$73,000?
As for TNR, there's a separate budget for that, and it is $75,000 for that one.
Okay, so when's the last time we used the Halifax Humane Society for like surgeries or stuff like that for animals?
That was back in September 2023.
Are you sure none have been done since then?
No, because when they proposed the previous agreement, I didn't accept it. There were some issues with higher fees, issues with city had to collect when there's fees that if an owner went to claim their animals, and we didn't accept that, and that's why we're bringing it forward now.
So is the TNR in this Halifax thing, is there any TNR in that?
Yes, it's going to be available for us so we can do surgeries with Halifax. We have not coordinated with them, in that capacity at the moment.
So you already have $75,000 in the budget. Now you want another $40,000 to renew this.
The $40,000 is just for the impoundment, which covers impounding of animals, rabies quarantine, confiscated animals, dangerous dogs, additional services for the staff supporting forensic cases with the veterinary support. For TNR, that will have a different budget for that.
Right.
If once we have this contract in place, I will coordinate with the community cat coordinator and set surgeries for those animals.
See, I don't have a problem, and I'm not trying to jump on you, Mr. Ron, but this is exactly the stuff I've been talking about for a long time. We keep throwing money at stuff, and it's not fixing any issue. We're going to use now Halifax, another place. We're going to bring people over there and services and go over there. And we brought it up 2 years ago when we have that 5 acres of land with a house on it that we can make an animal shelter right here. See, I know, Commissioner McCool, you're going to make them faces, but we already own a place, and we keep throwing money on this and money on this and money on this. I know it was other people's pet projects for years, and I'm probably going to get land-based for it, but I'm for helping the animals, but when are we going to start doing it in a smart way? And I think we've done some surgeries in there since 2023.
Yes.
And because if I find them, I'm going to come in tomorrow and ask for them. If I find anything, then your answers are going to be off a little bit then.
Yeah, from when I saw the stats.
I think we've done 3 or 4 surgeries not too long ago.
Okay, I would have to look at that invoice.
And I know it wasn't too long ago, you sent an email to another commissioner saying that there was no, does not cover TNR. That's an email you sent to another commissioner that's up here.
That's correct.
This doesn't cover TNR. But in the contract, you read it, it says it does cover TNR.
It does cover the services is provided for us to do surgeries for cats that we impound.
Okay.
But the budget comes from a different section. It's on the promotional activities. We have a separate budget for TNR. When they bill us, we separate that with the promotional activity fee, for the surgeries, we'll coordinate for that. But yes, the main $40,000 that we have for Halifax Humane Society is for these other services that they provide.
Okay. Right now, like I said, I'm for the project. So everybody watching at home, don't send me emails and attack me.
So you kind of have a difference of an opinion.
Well, yeah, no, you talk about cats. You might as well get up on the cross and crucify yourself. But I'm just saying, I'm for it. I just want to make sure we're doing it the smart way, not wasting money. I mean, I know how much I've been paying attention to how many animals we're transporting a week, and not too long ago you wanted 3 new trucks and everything else, which is a different subject. But I know the amount of money we spend on transporting animals and the amount of animals we're transporting and the money we're throwing at the problem, it's not getting it. Nothing ever really gets done. We just keep throwing fuel on a fire and money into a project, and we have a lot of things in this city that need money. So that's my only thing about it.
Commissioner Harriet?
Danny, I just want to reiterate what's just been said. This contract includes services for all animals, whether they're picked up by code enforcement, animal control, whether TNR program uses them, or any combination of the above. But the budget associated, the $40,000, is only for animal services, animal control.
That's correct.
Code enforcement. That budget is not for any TNR-related animals.
That is correct. We have a separate budget when it comes, so that when they bill me with, they say they do surgeries, they'll bill me separate from the main invoices when it comes to the impounds that we have.
We need this, but I would also like to see on a future agenda item or thereabouts, more policy and procedure specific to the TNR program and how it interacts with animal control, just so that we can see the differentiation on paper.
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Danny, I know a while back, God, maybe 10, maybe more years ago, the city had a program, maybe once in a blue moon, but they had it, that they would partner, actually it was Halifax, and they would partner with them, and they would, for residents of the city of Deltona, you can bring up to 2 of your pets to get fixed or whatever for $25 each. And that helped. That helped a lot in the city with having to follow up on residents who had problems with their animals and didn't get them fixed or stuff like that. Is there any possibility to speak to Halifax and maybe bring something? I'm not saying $25. It could be a little bit more.
Yeah, the
10 years
prices
been a
for
long time.
spay and neuter has gone dramatically.
But it helped a lot because I brought my 2 dogs here and it was packed. I think they had to bring 2 trucks. We brought your animals here. They took them, to get them done, whatever, and then they were brought back here to be picked up. I think at 4 o'clock. Something like this will help the city also, bring down the problems that we're having with following with residents.
And that was the services they were doing for us for TNR with Halifax?
It wasn't just TNR. It was
separate
as a
for the
whole
animals?
for dogs and cats.
I would look into that. We also have other facilities. There's one in DeBerry, one in Longwood that we work with, Spain Save, and the community center from DeBerry, that we could look into that. And
Yeah, I mean, it would help families, residents as well. Not everybody can afford to take an animal to a vet to get fixed because it's a lot of money. So this will help them a little bit.
Understood.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCool.
In the name of cooperation, I would like to understand what it would cost to take that house out on 5 acres, staff it, put the supplies that we need out there, whatever it takes. I need that scenario explored because we waste money.
Put chickens out there too.
We can put chickens out there too, but I would like that explored because we need to be decisive about what we're doing here. This takes up a lot of time here, so I'm making that request now. I'm not requesting staff, I'm asking the city manager can we please yay or nay that concept so we don't have to go through that exercise again? That would be amazing. Thank you.
If I remember correctly, one of the issues when it was brought in the past, the road accessing that property, and it was going to cost a lot of money. That road, yes, is accessible maybe for staff, but we would need the citizens to be able to access that property. And I think that was a big issue there.
Yeah, I would like to understand staffing, conditions, insurance, liability. I want to hear about that so that we can kibosh that, if that would be amazing.
Commissioner Shimkus.
I make a motion to approve item 8B so we can move on with this meeting and just verify that this is to approve the availability of a contract to use services. This is not about a budget. This is not about spending money. This is about allowing us to make use of a contract.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Motion to approve item 8B, please.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Shimkus, a second by Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any public comment?
Brandy White, please.
Okay, it is kind of a little bit about budget, only because some numbers are tripping me up here. So 40K is what this agreement is going to cost. Is that what I'm understanding? No. So where'd the 40K come from? Because I thought it was 73K.
It's their anticipated usage for just animal control.
For all of animal control, not this agreement. What is this agreement costing us?
I'll answer that real quick. Yeah, we have a budget just for Halifax Community, 40 grand. My whole budget is 73.
That's what
and
I
it
thought.
covers other Humane Society, the other Humane Society, some of the local vets that might take care of our animals if it's injured, so we don't have to go to Humane Society.
That's okay, so it was correct. And then there's an additional 75K set aside just for TNR. So we're looking at $148,000 total to take care of city animals. That's what I'm configuring here. There's an overlap between the agreement and the TNR. But what people aren't understanding is it's just budgetary. I think the confusion is the agreement itself does include trap, neuter, and release, but those funds don't come out of the 73K. So I think there was some confusion on that. I just wanted to clarify if I'm on the same line of thinking. My only concern is throughout all of this, with the agreement, TNR, any of that, is I see zero data. That would be really useful to know if this is useful. So I get we need to have an agreement. I get we need to budget money for that agreement. That's not for today. But data is going to be necessary to determine that budget, so something to think about now, because it's going to need to come up later. That's all. Thank you.
I think we all agree on that, and that was the point of our request about policy.
Commissioner McCool? No. All right, can we vote, or can we vote, please?
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, this time we're going to go to Section C, which is request approval of the state-funded grant agreement between the City of Deltona and the State of Florida Department of Transportation for the Elcam Blvd elevation project. Ms. Phyllis Wallace.
Phyllis Wallace, Public Works, for the record. I made a mistake 2 weeks ago when I presented this to you. I failed to read the instructions that DOT sent me. Very specifically, it says they wanted a resolution. That's why I'm bringing this back, so that we can get the resolution signed and the contracts can go on their way.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion approved by Commissioner Harriet. There's a second by Commissioner Avila Vasquez, Vice Mayor Jody Lee, and then we'll go to Commissioner comments.
I got an easy one. I know this needs to be done. Everybody's talked about it. The road flooded. And you're going to be overseeing this project, right?
If I'm still employed here, yes, sir.
Okay, so I want to make sure, are you having anybody on this project that had anything to do with Lakeshore Drive? Because if you're going to have any company that has to do with Lakeshore Drive, and because you overseen that project too.
No, sir, I did not oversee that.
Well, whoever did should, I want to make sure none of these companies that already took $6.5 million from us are going to be on this project. Because that means they're going to start halfway and we won't be able to drive down the road because they didn't finish our boat ramp either.
As long as I'm here, I'll see that the project gets completed as designed, engineered, permitted, and the scope of work that is issued.
And properly procured.
Yeah, but we have to make sure they do
Yes,
proper geotechnical and check the dirt, and the road's not going to hit, they're not going to hit springs and all kinds of other stuff. But I just want to make sure, because I want to know if any of these companies that did Lakeshore Drive are going to be on here, I'm going to have a total issue with that.
Yeah. Public comment, please.
Louis Leal, please.
Thank you for being patient, Mr. Leal.
Good evening, Commissioners. I was working with Mr. Jerry Mays when he was working to do this recreational use of all the lakes, and it was a fun thing to do. So I have photographs of Elcam Drive before Ian and after Ian. And Elcam Road was shut down for 3 months. So I just want you guys to be very careful with what you decide to do. I think that a bridge should be put there, and there's several reasons. One reason is it's less maintenance. You can put some little niches on the side because you have the sidewalks that were done through the lab program, so you can have people fish off the sides. So now you got people interacting with the bridge. You can have people kayak under from one lake to the other. Now, if you use a causeway, you're gonna have to put culverts, either corrugated metal or piping. But remember, when the hurricanes come, anything that's loose on any of the properties will float and are gonna clog those pipes. And once they get clogged, the water's gonna go up and it's gonna go right over the roadway, and if that asphalt isn't done properly, it's gonna be washed out too. So you're gonna have this road shut down again. It was shut down for 3 months. The investment is very big, and I think if you do a metal bridge or a wooden bridge, the water will go from one lake to the other and continue flowing to Lake Monroe. As an engineer, I've studied it. I know you're gonna have to probably buy one of the properties because of the road elevations. I know you're gonna get it engineered, but I think you should look at both options. If you do the causeway, you're gonna have to put pipes there. If they get clogged, you're gonna have a problem. If you have a bridge, everything just flows under. And you have the use of the lakes as recreational use for the citizens of Deltona. Right now, they're private lakes. But if you use that park where the baseball stadium is there on Elcam and Howland, and you do a dock, now you can get revenue out of it. Anyone who wants to use the lakes, kayaking, you can have maybe someone do kayak rentals and have them pay revenue to the city. But right now, we're not generating revenue with our lakes. We're not using them for anything. They're just private lakes for the people who live there. And this is an opportunity to have use of the lakes and to protect the roadway. And Catalina's another roadway that was also damaged during the hurricane. So I'm just asking you to be very careful when you decide how it's gonna be engineered, that you take into consideration using a bridge instead of a causeway. If you have any questions, you can let me know. No questions?
Thank you, Mr. Lim.
All right, thank you. Have a blessed day.
You too. Vice Mayor Jody Lee, and then we're gonna vote.
I'm in favor of this. I'm in favor of this, and I just hope that our city manager, when Ms. Wallace starts it, I hope she's here and stays on the project from beginning to end, so we don't have issues in between. That's all I hope for. I think she's competent enough to do it. I just hope she's here from the beginning to end to get it done and see it finished.
Joyce.
Forget to get permits.
Can we vote, please?
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go to City Commission special reports and requests. We'll start with Commissioner Harriet.
I'm going to ask one more time, can we combine special reports and requests with commission comments?
That could be your request.
And my request is on future agendas, we can combine those two.
That makes a lot of sense, by the way.
Nothing further for now.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
None.
Commissioner Dana McCool?
Yes, I do. I have two. First of all, I don't know that we have, I was not here last commission meeting, but Glenn, I want to thank you again for the job that you did taking care of the city while you were, for the last 8-9 months. We really, really appreciate it. With that consideration said, I would like to get consensus for the city manager. At this time, Glenn never asked for an extra dime for what he did. We never gave him anything as far as if we had had someone else come in here, they would have had a bump in pay or something. So I would like consensus, and speaking with the city manager to arrange to give Glenn, with complete transparency, some type of bonus for filling in like he did, whether that it's extended vacation time or something like that. I believe that he deserved it. He never asked for a dime, nothing, and that's just coming from me. I would just like to get consensus to discuss that from the City Commission.
Commissioner Harriet?
I like where your head's at. I like the idea of some compensatory time. I could support that.
Commissioner Shimkus?
I have no problem trusting our new city manager to make any decisions necessary for HR, which that would be.
I agree.
Commissioner Vila-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool, obviously, yes. Commissioner Colwell?
Yes.
Commissioner, or Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
Yes.
And I'm going to agree with Commissioner Shimkus that I would leave that 100% on the city manager.
Thank you for that consideration. Also, one other thing, and I will be bringing this to the TPO also at our next meeting, is for Deltona to take up the gauntlet regarding education for pedestrian lines, to work with our sheriff's department. We have a problem in the city, people rolling over our pedestrian lines now, whether they're not marked fine enough or not, but we are the highest per capita with fatalities and accidents here with bike and pedestrian safety. And as a member of the TPO, we take it very seriously. It's one of the top goals that we have this year is for 0 incidents of that. And Deltona is horrible about that. I would like for us to work with the sheriff's department regarding education, not punitive damages, not punitive or not punishment. But if you see somebody over the line, if the sheriff department could sit at these crossings and educate, not give a ticket, not give a warning, but an educational, because we really do need this in our town. When we talking to the county, talking about our city, simply repainting the stripes at our pedestrian lines and educating the public would go a long ways to stopping these accidents. I'm guilty of pulling up and you go past the line and you have someone coming out of the blind sidewalk. So I would like to make that special request that we put that as a top priority, education for our pedestrian and bikes, starting with working with the sheriff's department and the county to get those lines, and the city to get those lines repainted at the very minimum. Let's take up that task. Let's be a leader in this area because we are number one with that. So that is my special request. Thank you.
Commissioner Colwell? Any special reports or requests?
Yes. I'd like to talk about the Enrique Plazas over there, the apartments that we're now enforcing, code enforcement against. Are we also pursuing after Toledo Place, which is the apartment complex that are owned by the same company?
I'd have to look into that, get back to you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
I have one, I guess, request. The gentleman sitting here, who everybody already spoke to him once before, he went through the proper way, and now it seems like it appears the feeling that people are purposely trying to stall him from opening a minority-owned business in the city, and it's getting kind of irritating when we have a fence ordinance up here that just came up recently. He's been trying to hear about this for 3 months now, and he's still sitting here with a business that he can't pay for, he can't pay his rent because the city won't let him open. And whoever's holding them back, I'm sorry to say it, and I can't do it, I wish I could, but if whoever in the city is purposely holding them back, they should be fired. It's a small minority business trying to open our city. We're always talking about businesses, until someone tries to own one. If you can get to the bottom of it, Doc, city manager, appreciate it.
I do have 3 requests. Doc, if we can, if the whole dais can get a list of the roads that are due to be resurfaced with dates, or at least estimated dates, so we have that information at least for the next 2 years, so we're aware of what they are. Number 2, is there any way we can figure out, at least on the main roads like Providence, for example, we've had some pedestrians hit. Unfortunately, some of them have lost their lives. Can we look at what it would cost, at least so it can come before the dais, to elevate some of those sidewalks? Because I think, for example, in the case where the siblings got hit, if that BMW, since they sit a little bit lower, if it would have hit that curb before, they would have probably stopped before they hit the pedestrians. And a lot of the cities have that. I know that those are really old roads, and I know that the county kind of gave it to us for whatever the return and exchange was. I don't know. But at least so I have an idea, so if it's the pleasure of this dais or commission, we can talk a little bit more about safety. As far as sidewalks also, I believe there's a state statute that requires certain roads or certain areas to have sidewalks if they're within a vicinity of the schools. We also look into how many of those are actually being done and what roads are still missing, and the dais can get that report. And then finally, is there any way we can sit down and talk to the county of maybe, here's a crazy idea, I'm just gonna throw it out there, if they would take over our animal control section, because I've seen some crazy stuff going on with TNR. I'm hearing, and I know they're still investigating, that we're TNRing cats from different parts of the county, and that needs to stop. So if we can at least have that conversation, I know I'll get crucified for it, I really don't care, that's fine. I would really appreciate that. Yeah. City attorney is not here, so city manager, any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. One, thank you to everyone for a warm welcome, residents tonight. Certainly the staff, we've had a few meetings, different things are happening really quickly, which I'll mention in a moment, and thank you to the mayor and commission for being very welcoming and throwing out your advice already to me very quickly. One of the things I want to recognize really quick is the employees. City of Deltona was found in compliance with the audit for a MS4 permit issued by Florida DEP. So the city was found in compliance with each category under the state's federally approved NPDES stormwater program, which is what's great about this kind of recognition. Of course, it's not just one or two staffers, but it's everybody across the board. Code compliance, engineering, public works, Deltona, water and stormwater, all involved. So there's a little something special about recognition when it involves a group effort. Another item I just want to bring to the Commission's attention and the residents that are watching this evening, there's going to be a change starting tomorrow at the customer service windows downstairs on the first floor. Normally the windows are closed by about 4 o'clock. Starting tomorrow, the windows will stay open until 5 o'clock. One of the issues is plan review, late plan review coming at the last minute, gave the staff a chance to review it. We will close at 5, but plan review will still stop around 4:30, giving staff time to do what they can do in that last hour, half hour, if not push it to the next day. Hopefully the additional hour will give residents and business owners more time to complete their city business. And I believe what was just put down in front of you, I received also by the Vice Mayor here, was a letter of resignation from the city attorney. At this point, I wish to thank all of you. Thank you all for the privilege and honor of working with the city of Deltona. Due to circumstances beyond my control, I'm offering my resignation effective September 30th, 2024. I've had wonderful memories, great projects that I've been involved with, and I wish all of you nothing but the best for each of you and for the city, signed by Marcia, the city attorney. So I'm not sure what comments come out of that, but apparently that was just handed out this evening.
Do we need to approve this or accept it? I'd like to make a motion to accept.
There's a motion by Commissioner Harriet to accept, and a second by Vice Mayor Jody Lee. Does the public want to give any input on that?
That's my final comments, Mayor. Thank you.
My only comment is, can you legally do it from here?
She resigned.
But to accept it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Any other comments? No? All right.
Thank you, Mayor. Done.
I'm just going to ask that the residents and everyone remain respectful. You know, I was one that wanted her gone, but she resigned, she did it on her own. Let's just please remain respectful of that, all right? Commissioner Harriet, any city commission comments, please?
Yeah, I'd like to just echo the comments that you just made. I think this is a big step for the city moving forward, and I think it's imperative that together we remain respectful and we unify in the process of finding a replacement.
Commissioner Shimkus.
Just a quick welcome, Doc. Glad to have you here and looking forward to seeing what you do for us.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Doc, to Deltona. And excuse me, just want to remind everyone of the MLK unveiling statue Wednesday at the center. Also, the Juneteenth event, which is taking place near the Justin Plaza, it's from 2 to 6, right on the corner of Enterprise. I just want to wish Marsha a lot of luck, and you know, it's her request to resign, so I think it's just out of respect to accept her resignation and move forward. And I just hope that we, well, I guess we can talk about this on how we're going to be hiring the new attorney, and not from a piece of letter or recommendation put on your desk from somebody. Thank you.
Commissioner McCool.
Yes, I have a couple of comments. I would like to inform and remind everybody that Thursday, myself, city manager, and I forget who else, will be visiting the county again regarding revitalizing the, what, Commissioner? Go ahead. What is it, Commissioner? No, amphitheater. Amphitheater. That thing right there, okay? So just know, I can't wait for us to have late summer, fall concerts there. It will be amazing. It's going to happen. I'd also like to make the residents aware that the STEAM program is having home economics like camp, and I think that it's worth looking into. It's something that we don't teach in school anymore, and they have other programs too. This one just happens to be up. You can call Amanda regarding this at 386-882-8824, and I just think that it's a remarkable program. I'd like to thank Parks and Rec, and, well, first of all, the commission for approving the budget, but we do have new cameras up in the parks to cut down on vandalism or, you know, safety issues, so I want to thank them for that. And I also wanted to encourage us as a city to move forward. We had a very productive meeting on Saturday night. I think that we have had enough political divisiveness that everybody can palate for the last couple of weeks. There's enough mud in this city to sling on everybody here. Myself, I'm kind of weary of it. We're entering into silly season. I'd like to put that into layman's terms, political season and election time. And what I would request from everyone in this city is that watch the character of the people that you are voting for. I would ask that you ignore letters by people's name, because that doesn't pertain to the character and content of a leader. So just know that that is what divides us and makes us fall. So I have no further comments on any of that. Also, wash down, push in ceremony. Y'all, let's go here. Let's go support our fire chief, Bill Snyder, and Deltona Fire Rescue. This is going to be happening on Thursday, July 18th, 2024. We're having this beautiful new Medic 61. Please let's go support our firefighters, because our emergency services are really important as we move together on our comp plan, getting back together as a city, putting us together as a community community, and I like saying that community, let's get out here and support them. Thank you for a good meeting tonight. It was productive. Doc, again, welcome. I'm sure that you're going to address a lot of silliness, and so we don't have to do that from the dais anymore. And I really appreciate the pragmatism and the leadership that you will bring and have done so far. Thank you for cleaning up some things, and thank you for fellow commissioners for keeping it very, very real and clean and professional up here this evening. I've made the commitment to do that, and I hope that we all follow suit on that. So thank you, Marcia. I wish you the best of luck. I didn't vote for you either, but you've always done a good job in anything that I've requested. So if you're listening, I hope that you enjoy a well-deserved retirement. Thank you.
Commissioner Stephen Colwell.
Doc, I'd also like to welcome you here to the great city of Deltona. I'm looking forward to seeing where you will take us.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thanks for coming to Deltona. Appreciate it. And I hope with all the different things and projects we have going on in this city, I hope we can get some finished before we start more.
Yes.
We have so many problems. I hope you tackle a bunch of our old problems before we start creating new problems. So that's what I'm really asking for. Other than that, everything else is great. Marcia, she's leaving. She's going on her own, doing her own thing now, and I just want to wish her well. She's been good for the city through the years and times. She's done good. She's not everybody's cup of tea, but she's been loyal. She's done her job, and I just want to wish her well on whatever she chooses to do now in life. And that's about it.
I just want to welcome you, Doc. It's just expressing the same as everyone else. We hope you not only outlive us, but the following dais and the following dais for the sake of our residents for years to come. And you really take out all the potential we have as a city. I want to thank Glenn for all the hard work he's done for putting up with all of us on this dais. Marcia, again, I wish you nothing but the best, and good luck on your future endeavors. And then finally, the daddy-daughter dance, I loved it. It was great. I enjoyed it. It was better than last year. It wasn't as better attended as last year. So if we can just look into maybe fixing the dates on that. But other than that, everybody have a good night. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.